Chapter 3589. Young Master Song kept struggling, but the vines were like iron chains and he couldn't break free at all. Young Master Song felt like he was a fish waiting to be slaughtered on the chopping board. Young Master Song hated the man lying on the ground. He could offend anyone but the red-clothed woman. Who knew that the red-clothed woman would appear again after so many years? There was no news at all. The various sects and commoners all thought that the red-clothed woman was dead. Otherwise, why wasn't there any news at all? Young Master Song didn't know how many lifetimes of luck he had accumulated to be able to meet the red-clothed woman. This was undoubtedly the world's red rain. Ning Shu took out a dagger and used the tip of the dagger to lift up young Master Song's clothes, revealing the dirty thing below. Young Master Song instantly felt a chill down there and he broke out in a cold sweat. His entire body started to tremble. A man's meat looks small, but it's much more useful than his brain. For the sake of 2 taels of meat, many people would do crazy things. Why don't we castrate him first? Ning Shu said. Han Shen subconsciously clamped his legs together. Too scary, too scary. He wanted to go home. Earthworm jumped out. She's being tortured. Hurry up and kill him. It's too bloody. The child can't take it. Yao Nyang was speechless. Did it matter if it was bloody or not? It was all about killing. For some reason, Yao Nyang wanted to retort. Ning Shu wanted to cut it off, but he considered the little girl's endurance. Young Master Song wanted to say something, but the vines blocked his mouth. The vines dug into his stomach, causing young Master Song's face to twist in pain. More and more vines pierced young Lord Song's body, leaving bloody holes in his body. Young Master Song was stronger than the previous one. Even if his body was injured, his body would recover through spiritual energy. The spiritual energy stored in his body would also heal his body. He wouldn't die immediately, but at the same time, he would have to endure more pain for a longer time. He couldn't scream and his face was twisted in pain. Young Master Song finally breathed his last when dawn arrived. His face was filled with relief. Ning Shu snapped his fingers and retracted the vines. Done. Young Master Song's corpse fell to the ground. Yao Nyang's face was numb as she cursed inwardly. Han Shen was speechless. He said weakly, "Should we deal with these 2 corpses?" Ning Shu, why do we have to deal with it? Someone will deal with it tomorrow. It's too bloody, I'm too lazy to do it. Yao Nyang, why don't you find it bloody when you're killing people? In order to prevent herself from being agitated, Yao Nyang learned how to ridicule others to ease her emotions. Let's go back to sleep. There will be an empty room tomorrow, Ning Shu said. That seemed to make sense. If the person who lived in this room died, the room would naturally be empty. Yao Nyang, the problem is, who would want to stay in a room where someone died? When Yao Nyang returned to her room, she had nightmares for the entire night. Just as she fell asleep, a commotion broke out in the inn, saying that someone had died. It was so noisy that she couldn't sleep at all. When she opened her eyes, she saw that her aunt was eating melon seeds. Her head was heavy as she said, "Aunt, now that it's out, will people find out that we did it?" "Why are you panicking? We did it, so what if we didn't?" Ning Shu said calmly. "Cultivate for a while. Look at how pale your complexion is." Yao Nyang sat cross-legged and started to cultivate. She calmed down and cultivated, but the effects were minimal. The 3 of them went downstairs to eat breakfast. There were already many cultivators gathered in the main hall. They looked at the 3 of them and started to discuss young Master Song's death. They were all discussing who they offended. There were so many holes in his body, and they couldn't even tell what kind of weapon it was. The main reason was that the wounds were too irregular. "Brother, did you hear anything yesterday?" "No, there was no movement at all." "It's weird, doesn't young Master Song feel pain? There are so many holes in his body." "Who did it?" "Old ancestor Wu Yu is going to suffer." Old ancestor Wu Yu only had 1 grandson. If he was targeted by that old monster, he would rather die. Very few people dared to touch young Master Song because they were afraid of old ancestor Wu Yu. Young Master Song had killed so many women. Finally, someone made a move. When Han Shen heard these discussions, he felt extremely uncomfortable. Who would have thought that the murderer would be sitting right next to him? Moreover, it was a red-clothed demoness. Only he knew, and he couldn't say it out loud. Looking at Ning Shu, who was eating a steamed bun, Han Shen felt terrible. Ning Shu glanced at him. "Why are you looking at me? What's the matter?" Han Shen hurriedly shook his head. "Nothing, nothing." After discussing young Master Song, these people started to talk about the treasure of Zixia Mountain. Ning Shu said, "Let's go to Zixia Mountain to join in the fun and see what kind of treasure it is. Let Yao Nyang see the world." "Yao Nyang, I don't want to see the world." Who knew what would happen next? Han Shen didn't say anything. A woman who could destroy a city was definitely strong. There was no need to worry at all. Those vines that covered the sky were a headache. Han Shen's heart was suddenly filled with a sense of security. After breakfast, Ning Shu brought the two of them to Zixia Mountain with other cultivators to try their luck. Zixia Mountain was actually a wasteland. There were a few plants growing here and there, but they were sparse. The entire mountain didn't seem to have any vitality. Ning Shu nodded and said, "It seems that there really is a treasure in Zixia Mountain." Yao Nyang asked, "Auntie, how did you determine that there is a treasure?" Earthworm jumped out and said, "Isn't it simple? The vitality of this mountain has been absorbed. Do you think that a treasure is born casually? It needs vitality and energy." Ning Shu said, "You're smart." Yao Nyang temporarily forgot about the murder and asked curiously, "Where is the treasure hidden?" There were people flying around the mountain looking for this treasure, but they couldn't find it after such a long time. Ning Shu spread his hands. "I don't know. Who knows if it's hidden?" "You don't know either?" Han Shen asked. Logically speaking, with her strength, she was the most likely person to obtain the treasure here. But looking at her, she didn't seem to be very interested in the treasure. Han Shen felt that he couldn't be so indifferent. Ning Shu released his spiritual power and searched the entire mountain, looking for the place with the strongest vitality. Since it had absorbed so much vitality, it was natural that the treasure would have a strong vitality. Surprisingly, Ning Shu didn't sense anything exuding vitality from this mountain. This was a little strange. Could it be that the treasure had run away, or did it restrain all the vitality on its body? Interesting. Or could it be that this treasure had already gained sentience? A treasure with sentience was no longer an ordinary treasure. Chapter 3590. The treasure had probably already disappeared. It suddenly exploded and ran away as if its butt was on fire. These cultivators were going to flip the land of the Purple Summer Mountain. They had probably been flipping it for a long time. It seemed that it would be difficult to find this treasure. Han Shen asked, "Can you find the treasure?" Ning Shu rolled his eyes. "How would I know? Do you think I'm a god?" Han Shen, isn't that a god? A red-clothed demoness. The demoness. A demoness is still very godly. Yao Nyang didn't care about the treasure at all. She said, "Why don't we go back?" She thought that she came out to have fun and buy gifts. She didn't expect to encounter such a thing. Ning Shu said, "Since we're already out, why should we go back so quickly? I don't know when I'll be able to come again, so we have to cherish this opportunity." Moreover, he didn't know what kind of treasure it was. He was a little curious and just wanted to see this treasure. As for whether he could obtain it or not, Ning Shu was very relaxed and didn't care at all. Yao Nyang. It was so uncomfortable. She wanted to go home. Ning Shu used his spiritual energy to scan the Purple Summer Mountain over and over again. Other than the Purple Summer Mountain, Ning Shu expanded his spiritual energy and expanded the area around the Purple Summer Mountain. All kinds of spiritual energy interweaved in the entire Purple Summer Mountain. The cultivators were looking for the treasure. The treasure lit up and disappeared without a trace. They were all wondering if there was a treasure in the Purple Summer Mountain. They couldn't find anything even after a carpet search. The news that there was a treasure in the Purple Summer Mountain was almost fake. Some cultivators didn't look too good. They wasted time and didn't get anything. If they didn't find any treasure, it would be fine if they found other natural treasures. But the problem was that they didn't find anything. There wasn't even a slightly better medicinal herb. What a waste of time. Ning Shu continued to expand his spiritual energy. In any case, his spiritual energy condensed into stars in his sea of consciousness and scattered down like a net. The distance was getting further and further. He found a small green dot in a place. This green dot represented vitality, and it was already very far away from the purple summer mountain. If this little green dot was a treasure, then it would be able to run very fast, and its movement speed would also be very fast. No wonder there was nothing on Xisha Mountain. Sigh, this is simply IQ suppression. Others know to run away when they have treasures, but these cultivators are actually still wandering around in search of treasures. His IQ was worrying. The cultivator probably felt that the treasure did not have any spiritual intelligence and was at most a slightly more powerful treasure of heaven and earth. Therefore, they would definitely stay where they were and wait for others to collect them. Natural treasures were not easy to obtain, and they needed a lot of time to grow. Ning Shu said, "We're going to do a space jump now. Hold on tight." The earthworm asked, "Have you found the little thing?" "There's something that looks like it. I can go look for it." Ning Shu immediately jumped through space. Before Han Chen could react, he felt that his current state was very strange. It was as if he had fallen from a high altitude. His surroundings were blurry. He wanted to throw up. Stop the car quickly. He wanted to get out. After a few more spatial jumps, Yao Nyang and Han Chen began vomiting as they leaned against a tree. The earthworm felt sorry for Yao Nyang. "You must be feeling terrible. Come and drink some water." Yao Nyang took the water bag and rinsed her mouth. Han Chen looked at the earthworm and also wanted to drink some water. The earthworm glanced at him. "It's too embarrassing for a man to vomit like this. Such double standards." Han Chen was speechless. Weren't men human? Han Chen did not expect to get water from the grumpy spirit beast. He scooped some water from the nearby stream and rinsed his mouth. He looked up and saw a jumping radish on the other side of the stream. It was a white and fat radish with forked legs. There was even a green color on its head. Han Chen rubbed his eyes. Radish? He was afraid that he was hallucinating. When Radish discovered Han Chen, it quickly ran away with its two forked radish legs. It bounced around and ran very fast. Before Han Chen could even react, the radish had already disappeared. Han Chen had never seen such a huge ginseng. It was so white and tender. No matter how he looked at it, it was a radish. "What's that?" Han Chen asked Ning Shu. Ning Shu had already stretched out many vines to track the radish. At the same time, he used the spatial laws to lock the radish up. Ning Shu said calmly, "A radish that has become a spirit." Han Chen, the radish looked plump, but it ran very fast in the mountains. It jumped from one tree to another. An agile fatty dodged the vines. Ning Shu stretched out his hand. His hand seemed to have crossed a long distance and directly grabbed the radish. The radish was soft and squeaked as it bit Ning Shu's hand. When Han Chen saw the radish in Ning Shu's hand, he suddenly wanted to kneel down. Fuck, how did he do it? This thief was terrifying. What kind of method was this? Could it be Earth shrinking? Damn, the red-clothed demoness was even more terrifying and mysterious than the rumors. "I caught it. What treasure is this?" The earthworm looked at the radish. "It's quite ugly." The crow said that the pig was black. Ning Shu was a little flustered after being bitten by the radish. He felt irritated, as if there was a fire burning in his heart. Ning Shu silently chanted the clear heart mantra in his heart to suppress this irritated feeling. He turned the radish in his hand over and over again. Meanwhile, Han Chen's face was already flushed red. He stayed away from Ning Shu and Yao Nyang. Now, evil thoughts appeared in his heart. He wanted to do bad things to the two girls. Ning Shu raised his eyebrows. Aphrodisiac essence? Earthworm, Yao Nyang, Han Chen. There was actually such an otherworldly treasure in the world. She was a spirit and didn't have a physical body. Yet she was still affected. Or perhaps this thing could seduce the evil thoughts and greed in one's heart, causing one to show their ugly side. I'm not an aphrodisiac. I can only strengthen the body. A man can't fall down after eating a mouthful of gold, the radish suddenly said. Then it immediately regretted saying that. Ning Shu, Han Chen, Yao Nyang, I really want to go home right now. What the hell was this? Was the outside world so incomprehensible? Ning Shu nodded. Oh, so it's for nourishing the kidneys. If he could use the radish to refine pills, it would be a blessing for all men in the world. He didn't quite understand why such a strange thing was born in this world. Could it be that there were too many impotent men in this world, so this thing was born to save all men in the world? Probably not. This thing could seduce the negative thoughts in one's heart. Its attack method was quite interesting. The air became hotter and hotter. As a man, Han Chen was the most affected. His face flushed red, and with a pft, blood spurted out of his nose. He hurriedly covered his nose. Chapter 3591. Han Chen covered his nose as blood flowed out from the gaps between his fingers. He couldn't stop it and clamped his legs together. He looked extremely pathetic. What happened to you? Yao Nyang asked Han Chen. Han Chen raised his head, afraid that his nose would bleed. He hurriedly said, Nothing, nothing, the weather is dry, my nose is bleeding. Yao Nyang made an oh sound and didn't ask any more. The earthworm gave Han Chen a warning look and squeaked at him, Humph, be careful. Han Chen smiled bitterly. He didn't want to, but his blood was boiling. What could he do? He didn't want to. Ning Shu held a kidney-nourishing thing in his hand. He directly threw the white radish out, and then gathered some water to absorb. What an evil thing. The radish probably didn't expect to be despised and thrown out. It was dumbfounded when it was thrown out. It fell to the ground with a thud. The earthworm asked, Why did you throw it out? You want it? Ning Shu asked back. The earthworm directly said, I can do it, no need to nourish it. Ning Shu chuckled. What was the use of the earthworm being able to do it? As the only earthworm in this world, could it find its own kind, and it just happened to be a female. So what did it matter if the earthworm could do it or not? You want it? Ning Shu asked Yao Nyang. No. Yao Nyang's expression was very disgusted. You want it? Ning Shu asked Han Chen again. Han Chen smiled bitterly. Getting close to this thing made his blood boil. It was very uncomfortable. Actually, this thing's value was very high. It was a divine item for men. Sometimes, a man's dignity and confidence were built on these two pieces of meat. Han Chen could see that the red-clothed demoness despised this thing, but she didn't want to kill it. She probably wanted to let it go. In the end, it was a spirit beast, to treat its own kind more kindly. Until now, Han Chen still firmly believed that the red-clothed demoness was a spirit beast, or even a plant that became a spirit. Otherwise, why would the vines cover the sky and earth? The red-clothed demoness must have treated the radish as her own kind. In order to avoid offending the red-clothed demoness, although Han Chen felt that it was a pity, he still said, I don't want it either. I can do it too. All right then, Scram. Ning Shu waved his hand at Radish. What a vile hobby, to actually give birth to such a thing. Right now, the radish still had a child's voice, and it was hard to tell if it was a boy or a girl. In the future, when it transformed, regardless of whether it was a boy or a girl, it would be a monster. It was as if she had taken an aphrodisiac as soon as she got close. The world of the Nine-Palace Mountain was truly mischievous. Radish felt wronged. Previously, when so many people were looking for it, it quickly ran away and disappeared. In its immature mind, it was noble and rare. Being despised like this, Radish felt that its dignity was being challenged. He stood up like a carp and put his hands on his hips. Do you know who I am? Ning Shu said directly, I don't care who you are. If you don't get out, I'll stew you to nourish my kidney. It was just something that nourished the kidneys, but it gave him a sense of superiority. Han Chen agreed to stew it to nourish the kidneys, but when he thought of the effects of this, he reckoned that his liver and kidneys would burst. The little radish snorted, patted its butt and turned around to leave. You're really letting it go? The earthworm asked. According to Ning Shu's personality as a blood-sucking bug, how could he let it go? Although its function was a bit hard to describe, it was useful. It was like that whatever divine oil. One could become rich by selling this kind of medicine. Ning Shu only said, since this world gave birth to this thing, it must be useful. Let it complete its mission. Han Chen asked, what mission does it have? Mission? Could it be that its mission was to destroy those cities and change the structure of this continent? Han Chen seemed to have understood something, and felt that his realm had suddenly become higher. I'm born with a talent, and I must have a use. If I'm useless, why did the heavens give birth to me? Ning Shu, I'm not her, how would I know what mission it has? Han Chen was already used to being rebuked, and his heart didn't waver at all. As expected, he got used to being rebuked. Ning Shu said to Yao Nyang, I've already seen it, baby. Let's go to a more lively city to play. Yao Nyang, Auntie, I don't want to play anymore. I want to return to the deep mountains and forests to cultivate. If I love to cultivate, no one can stop me from cultivating. My desire to cultivate is incomparably strong, and my thirst for cultivation is unbearable. Ning Shu, cultivation can be done slowly. You have to cultivate your entire life, so it's fine if you cultivate less. No, I love to cultivate, Yao Nyang said firmly and righteously. The earthworm directly said, Look at you, other children aren't even willing to go out to play with you. Do you know why? It's because you're too cruel. Ning Shu used his fingernails to pinch the fleshy earthworm and gnashed his teeth. Shut up, I'm not, you're wrongly accusing me again. The earthworm felt that its waist was about to be broken. Ning Shu's face was malevolent. He turned around and looked at Yao Nyang with a gentle and kind expression. This is a special situation. Scum like young Master Song are still in the minority. This world is still beautiful, believe in Auntie. Yao Nyang, she was speechless. According to her auntie's high-profile conduct and beautiful appearance, this kind of trouble would be endless. Goodbye. Bye. Yao Nyang finally understood now. Sometimes, it wasn't you who went looking for trouble, but trouble that came looking for you. Yao Nyang touched her face. In just a day or two, she felt that she had changed a lot. She felt that she didn't need to be taught anymore. She wanted to go home. There weren't so many tricks in the deep mountains and forests. The roads in the outside world were too slippery. Ning Shu asked Yao Nyang, Do you really not want me to bring you around to play? Let's travel thousands of rivers and mountains and see the vast world. Yao Nyang hesitated and was tempted. She was afraid that she would be stimulated again. Han Chen's nosebleed finally stopped, and he felt much weaker. He said to the two women, Recently, the various sects and clans are recruiting disciples. You can go and take a look. The sect also needed an endless stream of new blood. If one wanted to see the world, it was best to go to such a place. The more people there were, the merrier. The more people there were, the more trouble there would be. It couldn't be better to watch the show. Han Chen felt that he had been wandering outside for so long, and it was time to return to the sect. It was a pity that the aphrodisiac essence had already given birth to intelligence and would transform in the future. It could strengthen one's body with just a bite. It was indeed a good thing. But in front of the red-clothed demoness, Han Chen didn't dare to show his desire. Firstly, he was afraid that he would be criticized, and secondly, the red-clothed demoness would be angry. Facing Ning Shu, Han Chen didn't have the slightest bit of charm in his heart. Even if a thought popped up in his mind, that cold face would appear in his mind. He was so scared that he shuddered. His entire body was refreshed, and his heart was incomparably pure. Ning Shu asked, Do you want to enter the sect and experience the life of the sect? Chapter 3592. Yao Nyang still couldn't resist the temptation of the world. As for whether she could live in a sect or not, that didn't matter to her. However, she was still a little curious about the life in a sect, so she asked Han Chen about it along the way. Han Chen told Yao Nyang honestly that there was competition, intrigue, and oppression in a sect. Unfair things could be found everywhere. Everything depended on one's strength. Where there were people, there would be conflicts. After hearing this, Yao Nyang immediately lost her yearning for the life in a sect. It didn't sound as comfortable as living in the mountains and forests. Yao Nyang asked, If that's the case, why do you still want to join a sect? Han Chen. This question was a little infuriating. It felt like she was asking him why he didn't eat meat. If there was no food, why didn't he eat meat? Han Chen glanced at Ning Shu and said, Only by joining a sect can you obtain cultivation techniques, cultivation manuals, and resources. There's no such thing as a free lunch in the world. Not everyone had the opportunity to become powerful. Even if one had talent without guidance and resources, it would be a waste of talent and they would become an ordinary person. After 100 years, they would become a skeleton. Someone like Yao Nyang, who had a powerful protector, wouldn't understand the bitterness of being alone. Yao Nyang was a flower in a greenhouse, loved and protected by others. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't envious. Yao Nyang nodded and didn't feel anything else. This made Han Chen want to vomit blood. "Sigh, it's good to have someone to dote on you." Han Chen said to Ning Shu, "Shall we walk back?" Of course. Since they were going to walk for thousands of miles, they had to walk one step at a time. Han Chen, "But if we really walk, we won't be able to make it in time for the recruitment ceremony." The world was very vast, and cultivators could fly in the sky and burrow into the ground. How could they walk like ordinary people? Ordinary people had to use horses instead of walking. Ning Shu, "Then let's hurry up and stop at a lively place." Ning Shu directly teleported with the two of them. With just a few jumps, they were able to reach a small town or a city. With Han Chen's strength, he still couldn't get used to the discomfort brought about by teleporting. Every time he stopped, he would feel dizzy, and he wouldn't know where he was. What happened? Patriarch Worryless, who was searching for Ning Shu's group, only wanted to curse out loud. The markings were like crazy. One moment they appeared here, the next moment they appeared there. The speed was extremely fast. What the hell was going on? Sun Tzu's life jade had already shattered into several pieces, and he couldn't be any more dead. First, he went to Zixia Mountain and collected his grandson's body. Seeing the holes all over his grandson's body, he could imagine how much pain he had suffered when he was alive. The mark jumped around very quickly. One moment, it was here, and the next moment, it ran to another city. It happened in the blink of an eye. What could be so fast? Patriarch Worryless felt like he was being led around by a dog. He chased after the mark for a long time. The last imprint finally stopped. All the sects and clans gathered in Yun City to recruit disciples. Every time Yun City was bustling with activity, it would be at this time. People from all over the world, including the royal family, would come to participate in the sect's recruitment. Wow, there are so many people here. That person's clothes are so weird. Yao Nyang couldn't even keep her eyes open. She looked around and chattered away like a sparrow. She bought a big bag of all kinds of new things. As a man, Han Chen naturally became a person who carried things. His hands were full of things. Yao Nyang bought food, but she didn't eat any of it. She stuffed the rest to Han Chen. Han Chen felt really miserable. After all, it was a big city. Ning Shu and Yao Nyang's faces weren't very conspicuous here. People who saw them would at most take a few glances. Probably because the recruitment was imminent, they didn't want to cause trouble. The inns were naturally full. There was no room at all. They could only sleep on the streets. However, Han Chen found a small courtyard for Ning Shu and the others. Although it was very small, it was at least a place to rest. In a crowded city, it wasn't easy to find such a small courtyard. Ning Shu gave Han Chen more than 10 top-grade spirit stones. It was considered Han Chen's care during this period of time. He was just short of being Yao Nyang's servant. Han Chen received the spirit stones, somewhat flattered. When he saw that they were top-grade spirit stones, and there was pure and rich spiritual energy inside, he was even more surprised. Most importantly, these things were given to him by the red-robed demoness. The red-robed demoness. He didn't die in the hands of the red-robed demoness. The red-robed demoness even gave him something. "Thank you, Senior. Thank you, Senior." Top-grade spirit stones were very rare. She even gave him more than 10. Ning Shu coldly grunted. "You should be familiar with this place. Bring Yao Nyang out to play more." Han Chen didn't dare to have any thoughts about these two beautiful women. He wanted to live. "Who killed this old man's grandson? Get out here." A thunderous roar resounded through the entire Yun City. Everyone raised their heads and saw a black dot appear in the sky. The black dot was getting bigger and bigger. Soon, it appeared above Yun City and floated above the city. It's old ancestor Wu Yu. Didn't old ancestor Wu Yu go into seclusion for a long time? Why did he come out? Son of a bitch, young Lord Song was killed. Who dares to be so audacious? Old ancestor Wu Yu was vicious and merciless. He was a person who played with poisons. He even poisoned himself and tested all kinds of poisons on himself. Some people said that if old ancestor Wu Yu died, the place where his corpse was would be barren. One could see how poisonous old ancestor Wu Yu was. Poisons hurt people and oneself. Old ancestor Wu Yu used poisons to harm his own body. Therefore, he didn't have many descendants. His son was a human who couldn't cultivate. The only thing that made him proud was that he gave birth to a talented grandson. Old ancestor Wu Yu treated his grandson as his successor. Now that his grandson was gone, one could imagine how angry he was. No one was willing to provoke old ancestor Wu Yu. After all, being targeted by a person who played with poisons and his methods were unpredictable was like being stabbed by a knife. Did no one know about young Lord Song's actions? Of course, they knew. Moreover, he was like a fish in water. He wasn't killed because of old ancestor Wu Yu. Young Lord Song, that pervert, was dead. This was a great thing. At least they didn't have to worry about their sisters or their senior and junior sisters in the sect. Everyone was curious as to who had the guts to kill young Lord Song. The various sects stationed in Yun City entered a state of alert. They were afraid that old ancestor Wu Yu would go berserk and cause a calamity to befall the entire Yun City. If the person who killed young Lord Song was in Yun City, they would hand him over to prevent him from harming the entire Yun City and hindering the recruitment of disciples. Ning Shu exclaimed and raised his eyebrows in surprise. He actually chased him all the way here. Chapter 3593. Did young Lord Song do something before he died? He clearly knew she was the red-clothed demoness, yet he still sent his family to avenge him. After beating up the young, the old would come. This was a very normal thing in the world of cultivation. There were two types of people in the cultivation world that couldn't be provoked. The first type was children. Who knew what kind of big shot was behind these arrogant children? The second type was old men. Although they didn't look very impressive, they might be some kind of expert. Ning Shu scanned his own soul. It was clean and didn't have any imprint. He then scanned Yaon Yang, but didn't find any. That meant it could be Hanshin. Hanshin's face was as pale as a ghost, and his expression was one of terror. Patriarch Wu Yu is here. He was present when young Lord Song was killed. Patriarch Wu Yu couldn't do anything to the red-clothed demoness, but killing him was as easy as squashing an ant. It's over, it's over. A hand descended from the sky, piercing through the roof and grabbing Hanshin. Hanshin was dumbfounded as he was pulled out of the roof. Ning Shu snorted coldly. He wrapped vines around the giant hand and flew out of the hole in the roof. The commotion quickly attracted the attention of the sections. All the sects and clans were heading this way. Hanshin was scared silly. He felt like a little kid suffering a calamity in a fight between immortals. Because Patriarch Wu Yu played with poisons, he had an extremely sinister temperament. His figure was stooped, and he wore a cloak on his head. His face was faintly discernible under the hood, making him appear even more sinister and terrifying. Patriarch Wu Yu's voice was hoarse. "Brat, you dare kill my grandson? You must be tired of living." "Hanshin, my life is over." He didn't kill him. Of course, Hanshin didn't point out that Ning Shu was the one who killed him. Even if he did, Ancestor Wu Yu wouldn't let him off given his gloomy personality. If he acted cowardly and betrayed Ning Shu, he would only die faster. If he resisted, perhaps the red-clothed demoness would save him. In short, he was walking on the edge of a knife. If he wasn't careful, he would be finished. Isn't that person wearing the uniform of an outer disciple of the Taibai sect? Is he from the Taibai sect? Everyone looked in the direction of the Taibai sect. The face of the elder of the Taibai sect suddenly darkened. As an elder of the sect, it was impossible for him to know an outer sect disciple. Outer sect disciples were not as talented as inner sect disciples. Even the inner sect disciples might not be able to recognize all of them, let alone the outer sect disciples with poor talent. You're a disciple of the Taibai sect just because you're wearing the uniform of the Taibai sect? Are you kidding me? The elder denied it directly. The main reason was that Patriarch Warriorless was truly too venomous. Whenever he had nothing to do, he would wander around the Taibai sect and sprinkle a bit of poison, which could change the environment around the Taibai sect. It was related to the interests of the entire sect. Even if this person was from the Taibai sect, he was not. Moreover, he was just an outer sect disciple. Hanshin's heart turned cold. He understood that he was just an outer sect disciple who didn't have much talent. This was a very realistic world. There was nothing of value on him that was worth the sect saving him. He was destined to be abandoned. Patriarch Warriorless laughed coldly. His laughter was unpleasant to the ears. Taibai sect. The elder's face was extremely ugly. Patriarch Warriorless, he's not from the Taibai sect at all. If this person is wearing the uniform of the Zilluo sect, then he's from the Zilluo sect. What nonsense are you talking about? People of the Taibai sect shouldn't slander others. The Zilluo sect immediately jumped up and scolded the elder of the Taibai sect. The elder of the Taibai sect said without any sincerity, "I'm just giving an example. Maybe someone is slandering the Taibai sect by wearing the uniform of an outer sect disciple of the Taibai sect. Besides, how could an outer sect disciple of the Taibai sect kill young Master Song?" The people present clamored and pushed the blame to each other. It was indescribably ugly. Hanshin felt that the blood in his body was about to freeze. He couldn't feel a trace of warmth. The elder of the Taibai sect questioned Hanshin, "Who are you? How dare you pretend to be a disciple of the Taibai sect? Who ordered you to do this?" Hanshin's lips moved. His face was a little sad, but he didn't say a word. No matter what he said now, it would be useless. If he admitted that he was a disciple of the Taibai sect, he would be accused of having bad intentions. If he didn't say anything, it would be a tacit agreement. What was the difference between saying and not saying anything? Ning Shu picked his ears. "Shut up, all of you. It's so noisy." Ning Shu pointed at the elder of the Taibai sect. "Old man, shut up. You're already so old, yet you're still so noisy. You don't even let your own disciple go. Are you afraid of being retaliated against? A sect like yours can still recruit disciples? Don't push your own disciples out to block trouble. The disciples of the Taibai sect are really unlucky." The elder was so angry that he staggered. "What nonsense are you talking about? Which sect are you from? You're slandering the Taibai sect." Now, all the sects and clans were stationed in places that attracted talented people in Yun City. If something bad happened at this time, it would directly affect the disciples' selection of sections. If a sect wanted to survive, it needed a steady stream of fresh blood. Otherwise, the sect would weaken. What enmity did he have with the Taibai sect that he had to slander them like this? The elder still wanted to say something, but Ning Shu shut his mouth, causing the people of the Taibai sect to lose face. Hanshin was a little moved. Although the red-clothed demoness was a cruel spirit beast, she still dared to take responsibility for her actions. But as a human sect, it made one's heart turn cold. One person in exchange for the safety of the entire sect. No matter how one looked at it, it was worth it. But who would have thought about how sad the person who was abandoned would be? This person is mine. Who wants to snatch her from my hands? Try it. Ning Shu looked at old ancestor Wuyo and directly admitted, "I killed that bastard grandson of yours. With that lecherous appearance, if I didn't kill him, who else would I kill?" Everyone present sucked in a breath of air. Which clan's junior was this? How could he be so arrogant? "Lowly slave, it's your honor that my grandson likes you." Old ancestor Wuyo was so angry that he was trembling. Ning Shu casually blew on his fingers. "Let me tell you, not only did I kill him, but I also scattered his soul. Even if you let him possess you first, you won't have a chance." Young Lord Song probably recognized her identity and didn't dare to leave an imprint on her body. He probably recognized that Hanshin was a disciple of the Taibai sect. It was too much of a loss for him to die like this. No matter what, he had to drag someone down with him. Therefore, he attacked the weakest Hanshin. It was best to make the Taibai sect pay the price. This also explained why Patriarch Wu Yu had captured Hanshin and not anyone else. It was because Hanshin had an imprint on his body. Speaking of which, Hanshin was quite innocent. But he was also at the scene of the murder. In short, it was an unexpected disaster. Lowly slave, lowly slave. Old ancestor Wu Yu only knew how to call her lowly slave over and over again. Probably because he had always been revered and feared by others, no one had ever treated him like this. Old ancestor Wu Yu was so angry that he couldn't speak. Lowly slave, I'm going to kill you. No, killing her would be too easy. He had to torture her until she was better off dead. Chapter 3594. Hanshin was very touched. Although the red-clothed demonic woman didn't seem to care about him, it seemed like she wanted to save him. However, the sect he belonged to wanted to give up on him and even denied his identity as a disciple of the sect. In an instant, his sense of belonging to the sect became zero. If he could survive this time, he would no longer be a disciple of the white sect. Since the sect didn't recognize him, why would he go back? Patriarch Wu Yu was angered to death by Ning Shu. This was different from what he had imagined. At least, she should be trembling in fear and not so arrogant after knowing who he was. Kill her, kill her. Every cell in his body was screaming for him to kill her. Ning Shu released vines and tied Hanshin up, pulling him towards the giant hand in the air. Hanshin felt that his body was about to be torn in half by these two forces. Ning Shu floated and said to Patriarch Wu Yu, "Let go. This is my man. You killed my grandson and still want me to let him go? Do you think I'm a pushover? I don't care if you're a pushover or not." "What, Patriarch Wu Yu? You're just an old fart. You're so ugly. Do you think you're invincible after playing with some poison? Is your brain flooded with water?" Hanshin was speechless. "Ancestor, can you not provoke people like this? What if you provoke them and they kill me? At least wait until I'm free from the enemy." The people Patriarch Wu Yu met were either afraid or hid far away. He had never met such a bitch with such a venomous mouth. The onlookers saw how Ning Shu provoked Patriarch Wu Yu. After losing his grandson, Patriarch Wu Yu was already in a rage. Now that the murderer was provoking him, was he afraid that he wouldn't die quickly enough? The people around silently retreated far away, forming a vacuum between Ning Shu and Patriarch Wu Yu. They were afraid that Patriarch Wu Yu would suddenly spread poison and cause the people around to suffer. Patriarch Wu Yu was really vicious. If he spread poison here, the entire Yun City would suffer. It happened to be the most lively time in Yun City. People with lofty ideals from all over the world came here to participate in the sect's general election. Patriarch Wu Yu was simply a terrorist, an uncontrollable atomic bomb. There was no need to mention the effect. The city lord of Yun City cursed in his heart. At this time, he had to stand up. At the very least, he had to calm down Patriarch Worryless, who was about to go berserk. Although it was a bit biased to say that those who played with poison had dirty hearts, Patriarch Worryless did not care about the lives of ordinary people at all. Otherwise, why didn't Patriarch Wu Yu come out to advise him when his grandson ruined so many women? He wasn't afraid of bad people, but he was afraid of bad people having power. That was the most terrifying thing. Its lethality was even more terrifying, and it was a disaster for ordinary people. The city lord of Yun City was an elegant man in his 40s. Cultivators were usually able to maintain a youthful appearance. The more talented they were, the more they could maintain their youthful appearance. The strength of a city lord was naturally not weak, and he had lived for a very long time. Patriarch Wu Yu, there must be a misunderstanding. For the sake of the citizens of the city, as well as the people from the various sects and clans who were stationed here, the city lord said, if anything were to happen, he would have to face the wrath of all the sections. It was too terrifying. Even though the city lord was not weak, he could not help but shudder at this moment. Why would he run here after killing someone? Why would he run to a crowded area? Sigh, wasn't it better to hide? When Patriarch Wu Yu saw the city lord, he was probably afraid of the city lord's strength. He said in a rough voice, "You also heard it. She has already admitted to killing my grandson." Today, I will tear these people into pieces. In the future, everyone will think that I, Patriarch Wu Yu, am easy to bully. Ning Shu was a little impatient. I told you to let go. I already said that I killed your grandson. It has nothing to do with him. Do you believe that I will throw you into the void and let you spread the poison? Patriarch Wu Yu was so angry that more wrinkles appeared on his face. This was too damn arrogant. Patriarch Wu Yu decided to kill this man first, and then capture the two women and torture them to death. Seeing that the atmosphere was getting more and more tense, the city lord said to Ning Shu, "Miss, please don't provoke Patriarch Wu Yu for the sake of ordinary people." Ning Shu glanced at the city lord and said, "I won't implicate ordinary people." The city lord of Yun City sighed and didn't know what to say. Ning Shu said to Patriarch Wu Yu with a cold face, "This is the last time. I told you to let go." Ning Shu stretched out his hand and directly froze the space around Patriarch Wu Yu, trapping him inside. Even if Patriarch Wu Yu wanted to spread the poison, it wouldn't implicate the city. Ning Shu used his soul power to condense a sword and directly cut off the giant hand that was holding Hanshin. In fact, it was just a force, not a real hand. He used vines to wrap Hanshin over. Hanshin thanked Ning Shu with a pale face. Yao Nyang asked, "Are you okay?" "I'm fine." His life was saved. Patriarch Wu Yu didn't feel the change in the space he was in. He was incomparably angry that Ning Shu had taken away the person he was in. Without saying a word, he began to spread the poison. The city lord of Yun City suddenly exclaimed, "Patriarch Wu Yu, wait. Don't be rash." If Patriarch Wu Yu was the kind of person who would listen to others, there wouldn't be so many people afraid of him. A turbid gas erupted from Patriarch Wu Yu's body. The gas was brightly colored and looked extremely poisonous at first glance. "It's over." The city lord of Yun City quickly arranged a barrier to protect the city. However, there were too many people in the city. Moreover, Patriarch Wu Yu's poison had reached perfection. It could even corrode the barrier. The most poisonous poison in the world was Patriarch Wu Yu's own body. The surrounding people fled one after another. If they were touched by the poison, they would be like maggots attached to bones. They would have to endure the pain brought by the poison for the rest of their lives. Someone discovered that Patriarch Wu Yu's poison seemed to be blocked by something. There seemed to be a transparent barrier around Patriarch Worryless, which directly separated the poisonous fog from him. Even Patriarch Worryless himself was trapped inside. The people who had fled hurriedly turned back, wanting to find out what was going on. Humans were just that curious. When there was no threat to their lives, they naturally wanted to see what was going on. The city lord of Yun City looked at this scene and was a little confused. He then looked at Ning Shu. Ning Shu spread his hands and said, "Didn't I say that I won't implicate ordinary people? People who have nothing to do with this matter." Ning Shu patted his chest and said, "I'm a very principled person." The city lord of Yun City glanced at Ning Shu patting his chest and looked away. He was also very principled and elegant. "What's going on? Patriarch Wu Yu seems to be locked up? Trapped in the barrier?" The surrounding people discussed. At least they understood one thing. Patriarch Wu Yu's poison didn't pose any threat for the time being. Chapter 3595. Old Ancestor Wu Yu was proud of his poison. Even the spiritual qi he absorbed was contaminated and turned into poison. Staying around Old Ancestor Wu Yu and absorbing the poisonous spiritual qi would cause trouble. Now that he saw Old Ancestor Wu Yu suffer, he was in a good mood. However, he didn't dare to show any obvious schadenfreude. Otherwise, if Old Ancestor Wu Yu hated him, it would be terrible if he came looking for trouble in the future. Old Ancestor Wu Yu also realized that the situation was not good for him. He thought that the barrier had bound him, so he kept releasing poisonous fog. As a result, the poisonous fog almost drowned Old Ancestor Wu Yu. However, not a trace of poisonous gas leaked out. Seeing that the poisonous fog was useless, Old Ancestor Wu Yu absorbed the released poisonous fog back into his body. He then took out a fang-like weapon to break the barrier. However, this space was thickened by Ning Shu. This move was learned from that bastard granduncle. Even if old ancestor Wu Yu knew the law of space, he would have to break it down bit by bit like Ning Shu did. However, old ancestor Wu Yu didn't understand the power of space at all. He seemed to have placed all his reliance on his own poisons, and had refined them to the acme of perfection. However, the upper limit of poison cultivation was a little low. For example, a little space seal could control old ancestor Wu Yu. This made old ancestor Wu Yu's poison useless. His poison seemed to only target the body and not the soul. This poison was not as advanced as earthworms. Old ancestor Wu Yu took out a fang-like weapon and knocked it, but it couldn't break the barrier at all. Old ancestor Wu Yu fell into a passive situation. Ning Shu waved his hand. In the eyes of outsiders, the barrier where old ancestor Wu Yu was in flew over. Moreover, the barrier was getting smaller and smaller. Even old ancestor Wu Yu, who was inside, had become much smaller. Space could be big or small. A flower could be a world, a leaf could be a Bodhi, and even a grain of sand could be a world. Ning Shu played with the space and said to Yun City's city lord, "Sorry, I caused a commotion." Yun City's city lord also knew that this person was an expert who could play with old ancestor Wu Yu in the palm of his hand. He didn't see old ancestor Wu Yu going crazy inside the barrier and shouting. The city lord of Yun City said, "It's okay, it's okay." Then he saw a big hole in the roof. "This place is uninhabitable. I'll arrange a place for you." Ning Shu yawned. "No need. Send someone to fix the house for me." The matter was settled just like that. The onlookers were all looking at Ning Shu. Obviously, they wanted to remember Ning Shu's appearance and search their memories to see if they knew this person. Han Qin heaved a sigh of relief. He was really lucky to have survived. Han Qin looked in the direction of the Tai-Bai sect and retracted his gaze. He would not return to the Tai-Bai sect. Going to the Tai-Bai sect to be an unimportant outer sect disciple would be better than following the red-clothed demoness. He might be able to live a little longer if he followed the red-clothed demoness. Tai-Bai Zong was a little embarrassed now. Previously, he had blabbered for so long, but in the end, the other party was very strong. Tai-Bai Zong's behavior of hurriedly passing the blame to others was really very low. How awkward! They were all wondering who this person was. Since he was so powerful, why didn't he have any reputation at all? Some people wanted to come up and get closer, but when they saw Ning Shu's cold face, they did not dare to come up. Her hand was still tossing the ball-like barrier. She tossed it up and down like a toy. Old ancestor Wu Yu, who was inside, was really miserable. Yun City's city lord quickly sent someone to fix the roof. He said to Ning Shu, "If you need anything, just come to the city lord mansion and tell me." Ning Shu casually grunted. His attitude was cold. Yun City's city lord felt that it was natural. Powerful people always had some strange habits. Weak people did not know what was good for them. When the same thing happened to different people, the result would be different. Disperse. There are too many people. The air is not good. Ning Shu said. The surrounding people immediately dispersed. From time to time, they would turn back to look at Ning Shu's group. Ning Shu entered the room. Han Qin immediately followed. The Tai-Bai sect's elder sighed and stopped Han Qin. Han Qin turned his head and asked coldly, "May I ask who you are?" Tai-Bai sect's elder, so awkward. It wasn't that the Tai-Bai sect's elder didn't know that this person was a disciple of the Tai-Bai sect. He was wearing the Tai-Bai sect's uniform and had his name embroidered on it. That, if there's nothing else, I'll leave first. Han Qin entered the room and closed the door with a bang. He directly gave the Tai-Bai sect's elder the cold shoulder. Fuck, it felt so good. Giving face to the usually high and mighty elder of the sect, this feeling was so good. This was the power of power. He was just a fox borrowing the tiger's might. If he had great power, then being respected, having dignity, and confidence would be a matter of minutes. Power. He really longed for power. Ning Shu casually threw the space on the table. Old ancestor Wu Yu, who was inside, suddenly felt the space vibrate, making him feel very uncomfortable. Impudent, let go of this old man. Lowly slave. Oh my, he still hasn't figured out his situation yet. It seemed that this old ancestor Wu Yu had been high and mighty for a long time. Even after falling into such a situation, he was still so awesome. It was a little intoxicating. Ning Shu couldn't be bothered to listen to old ancestor Wuyo's voice. It was so unpleasant to the ears. The earthworm crawled onto the table. Looking at old ancestor Wuyo, he said to Ning Shu, "This person is so poisonous. I want to eat him." Old ancestor Wuyo. Eat him. This was the first time he heard of someone wanting to eat him. Ning Shu looked at him with disdain. Old and dirty. Don't you think it's firewood? Be a little more ambitious as a human. I'm not a human, the earthworm replied. No matter how slow old ancestor Wuyo was, he knew that he was in trouble. He had met an even more powerful person with unfathomable means. His poison was useless. Moreover, there was a disgusting, fleshy thing coveting him. In the past, no one dared to approach him, but now they wanted to eat him. Fuck. What the hell did his grandson provoke? This lowly slave didn't look very old, so why were her means so unfathomable? Ning Shu knelt down. Ning Shu cupped his hands. Senior, thank you for saving my life. Ning Shu said, Yao Nyang needs someone to carry her things. You're not bad. Thank you, Senior. He was her lackey. Yao Nyang waved her hand in the air and asked, Auntie, how should we deal with this person? Deal with? It was hard to imagine a girl with such an innocent face talking about dealing with him. This was really, the earthworm was heartbroken. Yao Nyang, you've changed. Yao Nyang was a little confused. Isn't he a bad guy? What's the point of keeping him around? Earthworm. That seemed to make sense, but don't you think it's very frightening to say something like that? Especially with that innocent and matter-of-fact look on her face, the earthworm felt despair. Chapter 3596. The earthworm was a blatant double standard. He even allowed himself to say that he was going to eat Patriarch Warylus, and that was in front of Yao Nyang. However, she didn't allow Yao Nyang to say that she wanted to kill a bad guy. Earthworms were not human beings, but they had the male chauvinism of humans. Ning Shu wanted to roll his eyes. Using the standards of a saint to ask of others, and using the standards of a bitch to ask of herself. Ning Shu asked, How do you want to deal with him? Yao Nyang shook her head. I don't know. All I know is that he won't survive. As for how one would die, Yao Nyang's knowledge was simply too lacking. Inside the space, Ancestor Wu Yu heard everything clearly. He felt that he was about to be arranged. Right now, Patriarch Warylus was filled with regret. It wasn't that he had come looking for trouble, but that he had been too impulsive. He had come looking for trouble without making any preparations beforehand. If he knew that there was such a woman, he would definitely not provoke her and would only kill the disciples of the Tai Bai school. Moreover, only he had a mark on his body, which meant that Sun Tzu only wanted to kill him. Clearly, Sun Tzu also knew that it was hopeless to take revenge, so he picked a soft persimmon. In fact, he was not a pushover. At least, he was a disciple of the Tai Bai sect, and he could drag the Tai Bai sect down with him. If the Tai Bai sect wanted to settle this matter, they would have to pay something. He spilled a lot of blood to send them away. He shouldn't have been so impulsive. Patriarch Warylus was filled with regret. It was also because Patriarch Wu Yu had gotten used to living a peaceful life these past few years that no one dared to provoke his poison. Thus, he had developed the mentality of being the #1 expert in the world. Now that he had encountered such a situation, he had no choice but to endure it and directly attack. After killing my grandson, you still want to live well? Why don't you get over here and let me kill you? Therefore, Patriarch Wu Yu was the epitome of being born in hardship and death in peace. Patriarch Wu Yu tried everything he could, but he still couldn't break the barrier. He couldn't help but feel dispirited. When he heard the discussions of the people outside the barrier, he felt terrible. Ning Shu said, Don't worry about her. Let's watch the show first. Auntie, I'm afraid that others will be looking at us when the time comes. Now that something like this had happened, everyone in the city probably knew about them. They would be watched wherever they went. It was others who were watching them, not the other way around. She always felt that Auntie was a worrisome person. In the future, I refused to go out with Auntie. Ning Shu thought for a moment and said, "That's right. That's good too. No one will be blind enough to come and find trouble with us." "Do you want to join a sect?" Ning Shu asked Yao Nyang. "Forget it. I prefer to stay in the mountains." The outside world was simply too chaotic. Yao Nyang didn't like it. The more people there were, the more problems there would be. Ning Shu said, "It's good that you don't join. Otherwise, you'll be controlled. It's good to be free. Let's eat some of the delicious food in this city and then go to other places." "Still spinning?" Yao Nyang frowned. Ning Shu nodded. "Of course. Reading 10,000 books and traveling 10,000 miles is nothing. In the future, Auntie will bring you to the endless void. That place is even bigger and more boundless." Yao Nyang stomped her feet. "No, I won't. I won't." Han Chen was envious as he listened from the side. Yao Nyang was someone else's child. She had someone to dote on her, love her, and teach her. All the good things were sent to her. She lived a pure and beautiful life that was otherworldly. If one could live like this, who would be willing to make themselves suffer? Everyone would be willing to live a good and relaxing life. It was important to have someone to rely on. If he had a golden thigh like the red-clothed demonic woman, he would wake up laughing even in his dreams. Ning Shu patted Yao Nyang's shoulder. "You're still too inexperienced. Do you know what the world outside this world is?" Yao Nyang's face was numb. "I don't know." Ning Shu said, "The world of reincarnation is a world of souls. After a person dies, their soul will return to that world." Yao Nyang asked in surprise. Ning Shu nodded. "You can say that. There are still many things you haven't seen. You mustn't stop." The world outside was even more dazzling and colorful. It was a sea of stars. The world of reincarnation, billions of planes, the void, and the sea of laws. Just thinking about it made one feel how mysterious the world was. How fascinating and beautiful it was. Those beautiful things that one pursued tirelessly. Yao Nyang's face was filled with longing. "Wow, that's really amazing." The dinner was sent over by the city lord of Yun City. It was very sumptuous. Since the city lord had sent the food over, he naturally had to keep them here to eat. The city lord of Yun City also brought a small gift for Yao Nyang. It was a pet, snow white all over. It looked like a rabbit but wasn't a rabbit. It was quite suitable for a girl to raise. He probably treated Yao Nyang as an obedient girl. Yao Nyang was speechless. In the deep mountains and wild forests, one didn't see many things, but all kinds of animals and wild beasts were seen. Even fluffy and cute rabbits were seen a lot. They were cute, but one would become immune to them after seeing so many of them. However, he still had to thank the city lord for the gift. The city lord of Yun City gave Han Chen a spiritual weapon. Spiritual weapons needed a spiritual weapon master to forge them. Han Chen didn't have a spiritual weapon on him. As an outer disciple of a sect, he didn't have any fate with spiritual weapons. Suddenly receiving such a precious thing, Han Chen didn't know whether to accept it or not. Obviously, the city lord of Yun City felt that he had a close relationship with Ning Shu, so he gave him a gift. However, he knew that they didn't have any relationship. Was the spiritual weapon in his hand really good? Han Chen was very tempted, but he was worried about Ning Shu. He could only look at Ning Shu. Ning Shu said casually, "Since it's given to you, you should accept it. You can't refuse an elder's gift." The city lord of Yun City nodded. "Thank you, city lord." Han Chen received the spiritual weapon with both hands. His hands were trembling. This was the first spiritual weapon in his life, and it was given by the city lord of Yun City. In the past, he couldn't see such a person even if he was far away. Now, he could get close to him and even receive a gift. He really wanted to hug his thigh. He was willing to carry things for Yao Nyang. The city lord of Yun City didn't really stay for dinner. After giving the gift, he wanted to leave. Before leaving, he asked Ning Shu how to deal with Old Man Wuyu. Old Man Wuyu was really too vicious. Even if he died, his corpse could pollute a large area. The city lord of Yun City meant that even if he wanted to kill him, he shouldn't kill him here. Otherwise, the entire Yun City would be polluted. Ning Shu just said, "I won't let him die so quickly." The city lord of Yun City felt a chill on his back. He probably wanted to torture him. Previously, Old Man Wu Yu made a fuss and said that he wanted to torture people until they were better off dead. Now it was his turn to suffer. The city lord of Yun City naturally wouldn't plead for mercy for Old Man Wu Yu. They didn't have any friendship. Moreover, he would offend an expert. The winner was king and the loser was in the wrong. Now, it was obvious that he didn't know what was good for him. Even a fool wouldn't do such a thing. Chapter 3597. Ning Shu said goodbye and didn't get up to send the city lord out. The city lord of Yun City didn't care at all. He even invited Ning Shu to attend the ceremony, where various sects and clans would select disciples. Ning Shu nodded and said that he would go when he was free. As soon as the city lord of Yun City left, Yao Nyang let go of the rabbit in her hand and patted the rabbit fur on her body. She was a little puzzled. Why did you give me a rabbit? She probably thinks that all girls like these cute little animals. But I don't like it. Then I'm not a girl? Ning Shu said, no, everyone is qualified to like different things and hate something. It has nothing to do with gender. Yao Nyang nodded and began to eat. These dishes are better than those at home. Han Chen was speechless. Of course, it was delicious. The spiritual rice was full of spiritual energy. The meat was from spiritual beasts, and the fruits were full of spiritual energy. How could it not be delicious? Ning Shu said, if you like it, you can plant some seeds when you go back. Anyway, he had set up a spirit gathering array to absorb the surrounding spiritual energy. The things he planted were also full of spiritual energy and tasted good. Yao Nyang smiled with the corners of her eyes curved, pure and beautiful. After resting for a night, Ning Shu was about to leave Yun City with Yao Nyang. There were so many people here and they all knew her. Wherever she went, people would look and whisper to each other. Although she didn't care, she felt less comfortable. Now that Ning Shu was about to leave, Han Chen was more embarrassed. It was reasonable to say that it was time to say goodbye. Han Chen had no reason to follow Ning Shu anymore. Han Chen was very anxious. He wanted to say something, but he was afraid that the other party would think that he had ulterior motives. He wanted to hug his thigh, but he couldn't bear to call him dad. In short, he was very conflicted. Han Chen had nowhere to go now. He couldn't go back to the Tai Bai sect. If he went home, would he have to be an ordinary person in the future? Without anyone to guide him or teach him, it was a very difficult thing to become strong on one's own. The birth of a strong person required a lot of resources. Ning Shu raised his eyebrows and asked, are you going to leave or follow us? The earthworm said, humph, otherwise if he follows us, he might have some unspeakable intentions towards my Yao Nyang. Han Chen, that there was no reason for him to be obsessed with his daughter. How could he possibly dare to harbor any ill intentions towards Yao Nyang? He was probably going to follow in young Lord Song's footsteps. Even Patriarch Wu Yu was still trapped in the barrier. No matter how courageous he was, he didn't dare to harbor any ill intentions toward Yao Nyang. He would definitely keep his distance and not dare to offend him. Earthworm looked at Han Chen warningly. You don't want to follow us, do you? Han Chen said, I have nowhere else to go. I can't go back to the Tai Bai sect. I'll follow you. Ning Shu didn't have any objections. It wouldn't make much of a difference if he brought an extra person along. Besides, he would have someone to carry Yao Nyang's things as well. She couldn't possibly ask her to carry things for Yao Nyang, could she? If she were to be carried by the earthworms and turned into a meaty lump, it would surely cause a huge commotion. Therefore, Han Chen was very suitable for this position. Yao Nyang said, then Big Brother Han Chen should come with us. It's quite pitiful to have nowhere else to go. Thank you. Han Chen, who was pitted, shamelessly admitted that he was very pitiful. Earthworm exploded in anger. Brat, you better be careful. When the group left, they didn't cause any commotion. Before anyone noticed, the group had already left and randomly chose a direction. Traveling on a budget, they could go anywhere. After acting cool, they would run away. Along the way, Han Chen took care of the group's food, clothing, housing, and transportation. When they were in the wilderness, Han Chen did all the work. Ning Shu didn't eat, so he naturally didn't do anything. Yao Nyang was a delicate girl, so Han Chen wouldn't let her do anything. As for Earthworm, of course, he would do it, but he just didn't do it and let Han Chen do it. It could be said that he was constantly squeezing Han Chen, but Han Chen didn't seem to be unhappy. As for what he was thinking, no one knew. There was no resentment on his face. Occasionally, Yao Nyang would help with some things, but most of the time, it was Han Chen who took care of the group's food, clothing, housing, and transportation. Ning Shu brought Yao Nyang to many places. On the way, they met all kinds of people. If they met someone who needed help, they would also lend a hand. If they met bad people, as Yao Nyang said, they would directly deal with them. Along the way, they didn't even know what day it was until it started to snow. The snowy weather was very cold. Earthworm yawned all day long as if he was hibernating. Ning Shu brought the two of them and jumped through space, directly jumping back into the forest. Previously, they had already made a spatial mark. When they came back, they directly jumped through space. No matter how far the distance was, they would be back in an instant. It was very satisfying. Since they were back, they had to deal with old ancestor Wu Yu who had been locked in the space. After not paying attention to old ancestor Wu Yu for a period of time, he didn't have any vitality left. His back was hunched, and he looked like an old man with one foot in the grave. Ning Shu threw the space to Earthworm and said, "Since you like to eat, eat him." Seeing old ancestor Wu Yu's appearance, Earthworm lost all appetite. "I'm not eating. It looks like a dark cuisine. You handle it." Ning Shu thought that if he directly handled it in the surrounding area, it would probably pollute the area. So, why did he have to use such poison? If he wanted to play, he would use a higher level poison. This kind of poison would only harm the flowers and grass. It would affect the environment. It was not environmentally friendly at all. Ning Shu said to Yao Nyang, "Auntie is leaving. Cultivate well. I gave you some defensive items. If anything happens to you, I will be able to sense it." Yao Nyang nodded obediently. "I understand." Ning Shu looked at Han Chen. "Since you want to follow us, I'll have to trouble you to take care of Yao Nyang and Earthworm. Both of them are innocent fellows." Han Chen nodded. Although he didn't know where the red-clothed demoness was going or when she would appear, he didn't dare to have any thoughts. "Since you're following us, we naturally have to reward you for taking care of Yao Nyang and Earthworm. From today onwards, you will cultivate the same secret technique as Yao Nyang. I will teach you how to cultivate." Ning Shu originally wanted Yao Nyang to teach him, but after interacting with a woman for so long, he would eventually develop feelings for her. In any case, he had plenty of secret techniques. He didn't mind spending some time teaching Han Chen. Han Chen was pleasantly surprised. His secret technique wasn't very good. After all, he was an outer disciple of the sect. How good could his secret technique be? But then he had doubts. Could humans cultivate secret techniques of spirit beasts as well? Would they really not suffer from chi deviation? Even now, Han Chen still felt that Ning Shu was a spirit beast in human form. Chapter 3598. Ning Shu taught the ultimate martial arts to Han Chen. The more people who cultivated it, the more faith there would be in the ultimate martial arts. Although he didn't know what the ultimate martial arts were like now, it was a world of faith after all. Having faith was not a bad thing. Ning Shu told Han Chen to take care of Yao Nyang and her father. "Earthworm is just noisy. He won't do anything to you," Ning Shu said to Han Chen. If Earthworm really wanted to kill Han Chen, he would have killed Han Chen long ago. Han Chen asked boldly, "Where are you going?" "Oh, I have other things to do. I might be back after a while. I don't know the exact time." Han Chen nodded and didn't say anything else. Ning Shu set up a relatively large spirit gathering formation around the house. There was a lot of spirit energy around the house. After doing that, Ning Shu took the ball-like space and left 9 Palace Mountain. When he came out, he gave the skeleton some merit points. She had a lot of merit points now anyway. When he returned to the system space, the little mouse, who ran away from home, came back. Ning Shu said, "Oh, you're willing to come back." Little Mouse snorted and ignored Ning Shu. Ning Shu took the system space to the void. After thinking for a while, he took the fire pearl. The fire pearl was very hot. If he really killed Patriarch Wu Yu, the poison would spread everywhere. It was better to burn it with high temperature. Little Mouse saw that Ning Shu was about to leave again and asked faintly, "Where are you going?" "Take care of yourself. Little Mouse, you really don't want to give me another world's origin?" Ning Shu, scram. Little Mouse burrowed into the pillow, raised its butt, and cried pitifully. "You don't love me anymore. Ning Shu, I never fucking loved you. Love you, why didn't I know?" Little Mouse was very disappointed and desperate. After confirming that Ning Shu really wouldn't give it another world's origin, it couldn't be bothered to make a fuss. In any case, he wouldn't give it to her even if she made a scene. It was tiring. Ning Shu took the fire pearl and the space to the void. Then, he stared at old ancestor Wu Yu inside the space. As cultivators, their senses were extremely sensitive. Old ancestor Worryless was trembling with fear as he sensed the killing intent. It was probably time to deal with him. Senior, I have something to say." Patriarch Worryless sensed that he didn't have long to live and wanted to save his own life. Ning Shu asked, "What are you trying to say?" Ancestor Wu Yu was no longer as arrogant and despotic as before. He wept bitterly as he begged for mercy, saying that he had a lot of wealth and that he had used other methods to obtain treasures that he couldn't obtain. They could all be offered to Ning Shu. Ning Shu asked casually, "What kind of treasures are there?" Forefather Worryless blabbered on and on like he was very familiar with his family's treasures. He reported all the treasures to Ning Shu in an attempt to move her. When Ning Shu heard that it wasn't some heavenly treasure or spirit tool, he really couldn't arouse any interest. He didn't need any of these things. If it was an energy body, he might be interested. No, he would definitely be tempted. But these things were useless to Ning Shu. They even took up space. When he cleaned them up, he would have to throw them away. How troublesome. "I don't really like this kind of thing," Ning Shu said lightly. Then he directly squeezed the space. In that instant, Patriarch Worryless screamed as he was squeezed into a bloody mist. It was as if there was a strong pressure that directly crushed him into powder. At the same time, the poison contained in his body also floated out. The stench was unbearable. Ning Shu threw the fire bead into the furnace, and it disappeared under the high temperature. It didn't really pollute the environment. It was settled. There was no need to use weapons, no need to use fists. He easily solved the problem with a sword and a saber. Sure enough, the power of nature was stronger. One had to be good at using other forces. Individual strength was weak. No matter how strong an individual was, it wasn't worth mentioning in front of the power of nature. For example, in front of the power of the spatial laws, Patriarch Carefree's poison was useless. Ning Shu put away the fire pearl and casually patted the dust off his hands. He turned and saw Tai Shu and Ligua. Behind Ligua was a group of women. Ligua and her clansmen? The two of them are together again? Seeing Ligua's determined look, she thought that she would never see Tai Shu again in this life. She didn't understand the world of these people. She didn't know how long these people had been silently watching for. The place where she dealt with the corpse wasn't far from the organization. She probably took a few glances when she passed by. Tai Shu frowned. "Now that you have power, you want to kill the weak to gain happiness?" Ning Shu said directly, "Don't talk nonsense if you don't understand what happened." She had eaten too much. Why would she kill the weak for no reason? What benefits could it give her? Was it because the void was too small, or was it because there were too many energy bodies and she didn't look for them? Oh right, there were souls, but they had been burned. She wouldn't even eat such souls. Ning Shu looked at Ligua. He hadn't seen her for a while and felt that she had grown a lot. It wasn't her height, but her temperament had become much more stable. She no longer acted like a little girl when facing Tai Shu. Her face was as cold as ice. However, this was too deliberate. She deliberately pretended to be as cold as ice. It felt like she had used too much strength. Why did she have to endure it? She could jump up and point at Tai Shu's nose and scold him. "I just don't like you. When you fall into my hands, I'll rape you." However, she had to pretend that she didn't care. She was at a disadvantage. Moreover, she wasn't resolute. They were still in contact. Could it be that they had some business dealings? She didn't know how long this group of people had been watching from the side. What were they thinking? Ning Shu wanted to ask these people if she looked cool when she dealt with the corpse. Tai Shu, can't you talk nicely? Girls were always talking nonsense and vulgar. Ning Shu, my words made you unhappy. The angle of looking for trouble was strange. Ning Shu greeted Li Gua. Long time no see. You've become much prettier. Li Gua, thank you. You've also become much more brutal. Ning Shu, it's okay. You flatter me. The female elder behind Li Gua said, Patriarch, this matter is important. Now that Li Gua was the patriarch, her status had improved a lot. With responsibility came pressure. No wonder Li Gua had to put on airs now. It was because of her status. The patriarch of the clan was no longer a willful little girl. Li Gua, let's go. Tai Shu looked down at Ning Shu and said, it's not easy for you to get power. You should broaden your horizons when you're strong. The brave are angry and draw their blades at the stronger. The cowardly are angry and draw their blades at the weaker. Ning Shu nodded and said, I understand. In the future, when I'm angry, I'll definitely vent on you. I won't vent on the weak. Chapter 3599. The grand uncle laughed. Stupid as a pig. Ning Shu laughed. Of course, she understood what the grand uncle meant, but she couldn't stand him looking at people with his chin up. Mama, someone is staring at me with his nostrils. Li Gua said coldly, can we go now? The grand uncle turned and left. Li Gua followed him with her clansmen. She looked back at Ning Shu. Are you curious about what we are going to talk about? Let's go together. Ning Shu shook her head. I'm not curious at all. It was obviously a big deal to bring so many clansmen to discuss something. This was a high-level matter. Ning Shu just wanted to be a drunk employee. Even if the sky fell, there would be someone tall to hold it up. Besides, she wouldn't die. She hoped that the grand uncle would worry until his hair fell off and become a bald judge. She was just that evil. Li Gua didn't say anything. She turned and left. The two clans living next to each other couldn't be separated. What did the grand uncle ask for when he sent Li Gua back last time? Energy body? Ning Shu suddenly thought of something and asked Li Gua from afar, who told you that I have a death consciousness? Li Gua turned back. She was as cold as ice, but she suddenly smiled like a spring breeze. Guess. Guess my ass. Naughty. Would it kill him to tell her? They were all so mysterious. Ning Shu looked at the grand uncle's back. He suspected that the grand uncle was directing and acting. That was too much. Wasn't he tired? Scheming boy. She seemed to know who was behind it. He asked a few people, but they were all like annoying little demons. They just refused to say. Ning Shu returned to the system space and asked the little mouse, is Li Wen still in that city? The little mouse snorted and ignored Ning Shu. Ning Shu said to the little mouse, let's go to the void to find treasures. The little mouse sneered. No, it's boring. The human world isn't worth it. Ning Shu, I don't want to eat the world's origin anymore. Find something good and I'll give you the world's origin. The little mouse rolled its eyes. I don't care about the world origin. I'm just too lazy to go out and look for food. If I go out to look for food, I'll definitely find something delicious. More importantly, he was unwilling to move. Ning Shu, oh, you just want to freeload, right? Scram, I don't want a useless freeloader. Since you found Li Wen, follow him. Little mouse, so ruthless, so powerful. Hee hee, you're lazy, yet you blame others for being heartless. You were born to only know how to eat. Little mouse, yes, I was born to eat. Ning Shu felt that little mouse was challenging his patience. He silently looked at her, thinking that he should shut little mouse out in the future. Little mouse said angrily, okay, just a little thing and you're like a fighting cock. Vulgar, not noble. Ning Shu, you're very noble when you're asking for food. You're very elegant and refined. Little mouse was speechless. It's a bit dangerous for just the two of us to go to the void. Let's just wander around. We don't need to find energy bodies. It's not bad to find something to eat. The fruits in the void tasted pretty good and had a lot of energy. Let's go and find some snacks for ourselves. Little Mouse, okay. If he didn't agree with her, he would keep talking and despising it, as if it was the most useless piece of trash in the world. He wouldn't spare any effort to attack it. Ning Shu held the rope and curled the corner of his mouth. Ding dong, the chat system rang. Ning Shu opened it and saw that it was a message from the Cheongsam man. He had a pitiful expression and asked if he wanted to go to the void to look for treasures. Ning Shu, no, I want to go to the void. The Cheongsam man, bring me along. Ning Shu, the void is more dangerous. Are you sure you want to go with me? Little Mouse said directly, why do you want to bring me along? We'll have to share the food with more people. What's your relationship with this guy? Why do you have to help him? Little Mouse was very unhappy. It was fine to bring Ning Shu along. After all, Little Mouse was living under someone else's roof. But to others, Little Mouse wouldn't be so polite. Ning Shu, a friend. I'm bringing a friend out to see the world. As for sharing the food, he knows what he's doing. Little Mouse snorted arrogantly. Ning Shu walked Little Mouse to the Time City. The Cheongsam man was waiting for Ning Shu. He was a little speechless when he saw her walking a fist-sized silver mouse. What are you looking at? Little Mouse stared at him. The Cheongsam man, how do you know I'm looking at you if you don't look at me? Little Mouse, fucking retard. This person is retarded. Ning Shu jumped into the void with the Cheongsam man. Facing the endless and vast void, one would feel small and humble from the bottom of one's heart. The Cheongsam man exclaimed in admiration. Every time I feel that the sea of law giving birth to hundreds of millions of planes is already very spectacular. It's already shocking and suffocating. And the sea of law is just a creature born in the void. How magical is it? It was indeed magical. The sea of law even gave birth to Tai Shu and Jingqing. Ning Shu held the rope and asked Little Mouse, where are we going? Little Mouse, choose any direction and let fate decide. Little Mouse was very Buddhist. In the past, when there was a large group, it was also like this, going with the flow. Moreover, finding things really depended on fate. Little Mouse closed its eyes and turned its body casually. When it stopped, it walked in the direction its paw pointed in. Being so careless made the Cheongsam man feel very unsure. Even if it was a random direction, it should have some metaphysical explanation. For example, it would be better if it sensed this direction. Ning Shu didn't feel anything. He led Little Mouse in that direction. The Cheongsam man asked, what are you looking for? Ning Shu, I don't know. I'll look for whatever there is. The Cheongsam man, when he went to the void world, at least he knew what there might be in that world. He needed something purposefully, but now he was wandering around aimlessly. He really wasn't used to it. Although Little Mouse randomly chose a direction, it still had a basic sense of danger. It would take Ning Shu to avoid the residences of the more powerful races. As it walked, it would sniff and be very vigilant. The Cheongsam man felt that this mouse was a bit like a dog, but he wouldn't say it out loud. This mouse had a bad temper. He didn't know why it was willing to wear the collar and was even walked by Ning Shu like a dog. Ning Shu stopped and asked Little Mouse, is this area very dangerous? He had always been merciful. Little Mouse, it's okay, but it's not good to invade other people's territory. No one cared about the little ant crawling on the road, but if it ran into someone's house, it would definitely be trampled to death. Ning Shu said, oh, it's been hard on you. Continue sniffing. Little Mouse, fuck, I thought I felt sorry for it. Chapter 3600. What a ruthless, cold, and exploitative woman. Little Mouse scolded Ning Shu in its heart and felt a little better. One had to learn how to deal with such a selfish woman. Otherwise, one would be angered to death by her. It was said that women were as gentle as water and were made of water. However, Little Mouse did not feel gentle at all. She was made of reinforced concrete. The more they walked, the more nervous the man in the Cheongsam became. Where were they going? Finally, he could not help but say, why don't we go back? Looking at the vast void from afar, there was nothing but a black curtain. It was truly frightening. It was like facing the deep sea. Ignorant things were the most terrifying. Who knew what would suddenly appear? Ning Shu said, "Why should we go back? If there's a problem, we can run back. Don't worry." The man in the Cheongsam, I'm afraid we won't be able to run away at all. Little Mouse stopped walking and quickly covered its nose with its paw. Damn, it stinks. Ning Shu and the man in the Cheongsam sniffed. It doesn't smell. Little Mouse looked at the two of them as if they were crazy. It's so ugly and you can't even smell it. Is your nose an ornament? Ning Shu looked at Little Mouse indifferently. Little Mouse immediately shut up. Ning Shu asked, "What's that smell? Is it the smell of Senior Uncle?" "Probably, but it's too strong." Little Mouse refused to go and wanted to turn in another direction. Ning Shu suddenly asked, "Is Senior Uncle dying?" Little Mouse said casually, "Maybe. Anyway, he's not in a good condition. There's a rotten smell on his body. He was like an old man with one foot in the grave. There was a smell of bad luck and death on his body." Little Mouse, the cleaner in the void, ate everything. Of course, it could distinguish between good and bad ingredients. Ning Shu said, "Oh, it seems that the Sea of Law is really going to collapse. Turn in another direction. I feel like I'm going to suffocate." Little Mouse was about to cry from the smell. "Why are we leaving? Let's go and watch the show." The Grand Elder was definitely here. He didn't know what he was discussing with the pear fruit race. "I'm not going." Stinks. Little Mouse was very resistant. Ning Shu dragged the Little Mouse. The Little Mouse sat back and observed the expression of the Little Mouse. Little Mouse's expression was relaxed when he faced one direction, but when Ning Shu changed directions, Little Mouse's expression was one of relief. The Little Mouse's face was scrunched up into a ball. He quickly covered his face, making him look extremely ugly. "Very good, this is the direction." Ning Shu dragged the Little Mouse in this direction. The Little Mouse was very resistant. Why did he have to go to such a smelly place? The Cheongsam man asked, "Where are we going?" "And to see the place where the plane was born, the land of miracles." The smell was so strong that the Sea of Law was probably not far away. After all this time, the Little Mouse was leading them in circles. They went around and around until they reached the vicinity of the Sea of Law. To be honest, Ning Shu didn't have a full look at what the Sea of Law looked like. He only glanced at it before, and it was in this mountain. He didn't know what the Sea of Law looked like. The Cheongsam man asked, "Is this okay?" He always felt that the Sea of Law was like a forbidden area. Could they really go there as they pleased? The Little Mouse was so smelly that his tears fell. His face was filled with despair. Ning Shu moved his nose, but he didn't smell anything. "Yes, it smells like a corpse that has been fermented for 49 days. Don't even mention how overwhelming it is." All right, the Little Mouse's sense of smell was really sharp. Only the Little Mouse could smell the special smell. Ning Shu carried the Little Mouse inhumanely towards the Sea of Law. The Little Mouse cried out and directly vomited. He vomited right into Ning Shu's arms. Ning Shu didn't even think about it. He picked up the Little Mouse and threw him away. What a useless thing. The Little Mouse ran and returned to the system space. The Cheongsam man saw how exaggerated the Little Mouse was and suspected that he couldn't smell anything. Although Ning Shu knew beforehand that the situation of the Sea of Law wasn't good, when he really saw it, he was so shocked that his soul almost flew away. This was the Sea of Law? It was like a dead sea. It was pitch black without any signs of life. There was only endless silence. It was like dry mud. The Black Sea of Law's water was very viscous. At first glance, it made people feel uncomfortable and sad. The Sea of Law became like this? And the Sea of Law became smaller and was drying up. Beside the Sea of Law, Tai Shu and Liqua were indeed here. Ning Shu carefully went over. The Cheongsam man whispered, "Let's go." The Cheongsam man didn't know why, but his heart was extremely depressed. He was so depressed that he wanted to cry. He just wanted to escape from this strange and uncomfortable atmosphere. "I can't take it anymore. It's too uncomfortable." The Cheongsam man lowered his heart. "It's very uncomfortable." Ning Shu roughly understood that it was probably empathy. The Sea of Law gave birth to a plane, and the plane gave birth to life. The Sea of Law was the source of life. Seeing the source of life become like this, it was impossible to be indifferent. Especially since the Cheongsam man's strength wasn't that strong, he was more easily affected. Ning Shu shushed him. "Wait for me here. I'll go over and listen." Since he was already here, if he left just like that, his heart would be scratching his lungs. The Cheongsam man's tears were about to fall. He no longer had a heart, but his heart was still throbbing with pain. He wiped his tears. "Go ahead. I'll wait for you here." Ning Shu hummed in agreement and lifted the hem of her dress to move over. Those people might have already noticed her, but they ignored her. Ning Shu couldn't get too close. She raised her ears to listen to them from a distance. But she could only see their lips moving. She couldn't hear what they were saying. They probably blocked the sound. Ning Shu sighed. The laws had already become like this. Logically speaking, Zheng Qing was already dead. The situation in the Sea of Law should have improved a little. But from the looks of it, the situation in the Sea of Law would only worsen and not improve. Based on his deductions, it was possible that Zheng Qing was still alive. Did Grand-Uncle's heart soften? Ning Shu couldn't help but scan her body. She felt that Zheng Qing was in some corner of her body. She was incubating Zheng Qing. She felt a chill just thinking about it. It was really annoying. Why was Zheng Qing so tirelessly entangling with her? Ning Shu knew what was going on. After thinking about it, she felt that Zheng Qing was in her body. As for where she was, she didn't know. Where was she hiding? Even if she wasn't in her body, Zheng Qing should still be alive. A centipede dies but doesn't fall down. A scourge lasts for 1,000 years. Ning Shu observed Grand-Uncle and Li Guo's people. It was obvious that they were discussing the Sea of Law. Grand-Uncle's expression was cold. When he spoke, he would occasionally frown. Chapter 3601. Hearing Li Guo's words, Grand-Uncle nodded slightly. Then, Li Guo spoke to her own people. Then, Li Guo's people walked in the air above the Sea of Law. They walked to the center of the Sea of Law and sat cross-legged in the air. They closed their eyes and meditated. Not long after, Li Guo and her people emitted a faint fluorescent light. This light flew out from their bodies and condensed together. This light was gentle and cold, with a fresh aura, as if it could blow away the rotten smell of the Sea of Law. Waves of fluorescent light gathered together and then slowly gathered in the Sea of Law. Although he did not know what it was doing, it seemed to be beneficial to the Sea of Law. He suddenly felt that Li Guo was quite generous. Although she was cheated by Grand-Uncle, she was still willing to save the Sea of Law. But it was also possible that Grand-Uncle was blackmailing her. And the more he thought about it, the more likely it was. Grand-Uncle looked in the direction of Ning Shu. Ning Shu knew that she had been discovered, so she walked out confidently and walked to Ning Shu's side. She looked at Li Guo and asked, "What are they doing?" "Grand-Uncle, purifying the Sea of Law." Ning Shu was surprised. They have such an ability? In her impression, Li Guo was a raging loli. Once she lost her mind, she would be a fighting machine. She did not expect that when she was still rational, she would have such an ability. Purification, it was as if the light of Mother Mary enveloped Li Guo. Grand-Uncle said indifferently, "When rational, there is no fighting strength, but it does not mean that there is no other ability." Ning Shu asked, "Is the situation in the Sea of Law very serious?" Grand-Uncle did not speak. Was he blind? Couldn't see? Ning Shu changed the topic. Didn't Zheng Qing die? Why is the Sea of Law still like this? She wanted to get a little bit of information from Grand-Uncle's mouth. Then, she would be able to get the answer she wanted. Grand-Uncle still did not speak, looking at Li Guo in the center of the Sea of Law. Ning Shu asked again, "You offered yourself to Li Guo for help?" Grand-Uncle glared at her. "Shut up." Ning Shu continued, "There is a rotten smell on your body. You are going to die." Grand-Uncle's expression did not change. He was very indifferent. Ning Shu's nose twitched, but he still couldn't smell the scent of the Grand-Uncle. It seemed that she couldn't smell it. "Don't put your dog nose on me." The Grand Elder looked at her coldly. Ning Shu asked, How long will they need to purify it? After purifying it, will the situation in the Sea of Law become much better? Aging was aging and it was irreversible. The purification could only delay the time of death. Why did the Sea of Law become so black? Who's the one who's responsible for the pollution? Is it because of the worm's corpse? Why did you throw the insect's body in here? Don't you have energy bodies? Putting energy bodies in here is better than putting corpses. I can't feel any life force. The Sea of Law should already be dead. Sigh, I feel so bad. I feel like my mother is about to die. Will the purification be like an enema, getting rid of the filthy things in the Sea of Law? The Sea of Laws is just constipation, right? The color is too dark, right? Does the Sea of Law not have the ability to purify itself? It's probably beyond the range of self-purification and requires the intervention of external forces. The Grand Elder turned his head to look at Ning Shu. Shut up. Ning Shu sighed. Even if I shut up, these problems will still exist. I can't deceive myself. Even if you don't listen, these problems won't disappear. The Grand Elder said, get lost if you keep arguing. Ning Shu said, I am actively looking for a solution. What method do you have to solve the problem of the Sea of Law? The Grand Elder said, give birth to a new Sea of Law. But two won't be born at the same time. Ning Shu's eyes turned. You mean, when this Sea of Law dries up, a new one will be born? It was like a fruit. When it matured and rotted, the tree would bear new fruit. And the Sea of Law was like this ripe fruit that was about to rot. It was actually against nature to leave him hanging like this. If the old didn't go, the new wouldn't come. And the Grand Elder thought that creating a Sea of Law was very unrealistic. It was probably like humans wanting to create a kiwi. How could they do it? Maybe they could synthesize the nutrients of the peach, but it would probably make the taste of the fruit flesh. Once the fruit fell, everything would vanish into thin air. Billions upon billions of planes. Also, Ning Shu glanced at the Grand Elder. Would he die? Anyway, the Grand Elder gave Ning Shu the feeling that he was unfathomable. This kind of person seemed to be unable to die. Ning Shu still wanted to say something, but the Grand Elder said directly, shut up. Ning Shu said, how long will it take to purify it? Compared to the huge Sea of Law, Li Gua and her clansmen were like the bright moon and fireflies. It was estimated that the purification could only purify a part of it. It would take a lot of time. Ning Shu sat down and looked at Li Gua and the others purifying the Sea of Law. He asked, why is Li Gua willing to help you purify the Sea of Law? According to the normal situation, Li Gua had been treated coldly by the Grand Elder, threatened and extorted. When the Grand Elder asked Li Gua to help, Li Gua should have pointed at the door and said, get lost. The relationship had become like this, but the Grand Elder could still find Li Gua's clansmen to purify the Sea of Law. He was capable. The Grand Elder said, if you are very free, go deal with the Star Stones, do missions, or be the person in charge of Area D. The black-hearted boss couldn't bear to see his employees take a break. Ning Shu patted the seat next to him and said to the Grand Elder, sit down and rest. Aren't you tired of being tense every day? I'm very strong all day. Aren't I tired of being high and mighty? The Grand Elder stepped on Ning Shu's skirt and used her skirt to wipe the stone. He kicked her skirt away and then sat down with his windbreaker. Ning Shu said, fuck. Ning Shu dragged the hem of her dress back and brushed the dust off it. Her skirt had turned into a feather duster. This was the first time she realized that a long skirt was not good. Some bitches used her skirt as a rag. She felt that it was good that the Grand Elder played with the Sea of Law. He was too annoying. Ning Shu held her chin and asked tirelessly with excitement, will you die? The Grand Elder snorted with a thick nasal sound as if he was vibrating from his chest. I won't die even if you die. I've disappointed you. Ning Shu sighed. I'm really disappointed. Ning Shu stared at the Grand Elder. Can you honestly tell me one thing? Is the Jingqing on me? The Grand Elder said, you're thinking too much. Are you paranoid? Ning Shu hoped that she was thinking too much, but she believed in her feelings. Thinking about it, even if Jingqing was really with her, Grand Uncle wouldn't tell her. Ning Shu felt that if the Grand Elder left the Jingqing on her, it was actually to let the Jingqing go and give the Jingqing a chance to survive. Chapter 3602. Ning Shu didn't expect to get any information from the Grand Uncle. Even if it was true, the Grand Uncle would say no. Who would care about the feelings of an incubator? She was the incubator of the official, but she didn't know when the official would break out of the shell. Maybe even she, the incubator, would become the nutrition of the official. These two brothers are really annoying. What do I owe them? Ning Shu's heart was filled with curses. Since he couldn't ask, Ning Shu was too lazy to ask. He changed the topic and asked, "Do Li Gua and the others know that you're going to die? I think you should leave a descendant before you die." Since he was going to die anyway, he shouldn't waste it. At least he could pass on his genes and abilities. It could also increase the strength of Li Gua and the others. However, according to the Grand Uncle's character, he probably wouldn't do that. "I'm noble and cold. I'm the best in the world." The Grand Uncle frowned. "Can you only store such superficial things in your head?" Ning Shu nodded. "Of course, I can only store superficial things. I can't store anything too profound." The Cheongsam man waited for Ning Shu in the distance, but he couldn't wait. When he got closer and saw the two of them sitting side by side, he couldn't go over. He could only wander in the distance. He didn't want to get close to the judge for no reason. Besides, he would feel a little awkward if he went over. The two of them were sitting together. He would ruin the scene if he went over. Ning Shu turned around and saw the Cheongsam man. He said, "You go first. We won't look for anything this time. We'll look for treasures next time." The Cheongsam man glanced at the judge and nodded. "I'll go then. Call me next time." The Cheongsam man left in a flash and returned to the system space. Although the judge didn't look at him from beginning to end, the Cheongsam man still felt a lot of pressure. Ning Shu was still sitting next to him. He was really not afraid of death. Although he didn't do anything wrong, he still felt guilty. As soon as he saw the judge, the bad memories in the Cheongsam man's memory surfaced. The blurry face slowly became clear again. The pair of eyes that were as deep as the sea looked at him quietly. It was filled with ease and relief, as well as unwavering affection. The Cheongsam man was in a bad mood. He went to a restaurant and ordered a pot of wine to drink slowly. Ning Shu looked at the purified pear fruit in the middle of the sea of law. The fluorescence from her entire body made her look extremely holy. Grand Uncle was truly courageous, daring to allow the Li Gua race to come to the sea of law. If anything happened to the sea of laws, then the trillions of planes would directly collapse. Ning Shu felt that the Sea of Laws was already incapable of giving birth to a new plane. In fact, it was also a slow death. No new planes were born, and existing planes would be destroyed for various reasons. Just like that, it dragged on. A terminally ill old man was being kept alive by all kinds of methods. He was going to die sooner or later. Death wasn't scary, but he was afraid of living a life worse than death. If the Sea of Law was a person, it would definitely be in incomparable pain right now. Ning Shu asked, "Why don't you let the Sea of Laws die naturally?" Could it be that if the Sea of Laws collapsed, Grand Uncle and Jingqing would die? Based on Jingqing's words, that seemed to be the case. If the mother died, then the living planes that were attached to the mother would collapse as well, wouldn't they? Was the Grand Uncle trying to keep him alive? Grand Uncle, shut up. Ning Shu rolled his eyes and pursed his lips. He knew that he wanted him to shut up, but he still poked his sore spot, causing him to fly into a rage out of humiliation. "Ayaya, I just won't die. Aren't you envious and jealous?" Ning Shu's little man in his heart laughed complacently with his hands on his hips, his face showing compassion for the state of the universe. "In any case, we know each other. I will help you find a good place with good feng shui." Grand Uncle looked at Ning Shu indifferently. "Don't treat your own imagination as the truth." Ning Shu nodded. "I understand." For someone who was about to die, he had to be more humane. "Grand Uncle, what the hell do you know?" The Li Gua race purified for quite some time, and the fluorescence on their bodies gradually disappeared. Then, they stood up and ended the purification. Ning Shu looked at the Sea of Laws. It was already purified? Why did she see that the Sea of Laws didn't change at all? There wasn't even a single ripple. The Sea of Laws was still the same. It was probably because the problem was too serious. Ligua's face was tired, and it was obvious that she had consumed a lot of energy. She said coldly to Granduncle, "I need to rest for a while. It's too serious. It can't be purified in a short time." Granduncle stood up, "Okay. If you feel that it's too much, I can call your race over to help. It will be faster." "No need." Ligua's voice was sharp as she refused. Ning Shu. She wanted to pull her race over to purify. Granduncle was really pushing his luck. Ligua was so angry that her face was distorted. Her noble and cold demeanor immediately collapsed. Ligua sat down to rest, and Ning Shu asked her, "Why are you willing to help?" Ligua's face was cold. "You think I want to come? Didn't you see that he threatened me?" Ning Shu asked curiously, "How did he threaten you?" Ligua lifted her eyelids and looked at Ning Shu. "Why should I tell you? If you join my race, I will tell you." Ning Shu straightened her back. "No need, I'm not very curious." Seeing how angry Ligua was, she must have been threatened. Being weak was so sullen. She was extorted of her energy body, and she was pulled over to be purified. It made one's hair stand on end. However, she had cheated Ligua before, and Ligua was still able to invite her half-truthfully. She was quite magnanimous. Ligua cherished her so much? Oh my, why did she feel that Ligua was scheming against her? For her own race, Ligua was quite willing to go all out. From Ligua and Granduncle, Ning Shu had a preliminary impression of the living beings in the void. Actually, there was no difference. They were all struggling for survival. Ning Shu asked, "Can the Sea of Law be purified?" The problem with the Sea of Law was really not ordinary. If purification could solve the problem, the Sea of Law would not have become like this. Decline was inevitable. Ligua said, "It can delay for a while." Ligua said unhappily, "I'm so tired and annoyed." Granduncle is really annoying. Ning Shu felt the same and asked, "Did you succeed?" Ligua nodded, "I succeeded." Really? Ning Shu was surprised and looked at Ligua's stomach. "Are you pregnant?" It seemed that Granduncle was really going to die and decided to leave a child for himself. Ligua was speechless. Ligua could not be bothered with Ning Shu. Ning Shu gave Granduncle a thumbs up. "Congratulations, congratulations." Granduncle frowned. What was wrong with him? His brain was not fully developed. He was simply retarded. Ligua also wanted to cover her face and covered Ning Shu's mouth. "Stop talking." Ning Shu turned to look at her. "Fake?" Ligua was speechless. Ning Shu was speechless. Ligua still had feelings for Granduncle. She did not succeed, but she said that she succeeded. Chapter 3603. What kind of mentality was this? Scamming? She insisted on doing that with the Granduncle? Ning Shu said, "Really useless." Ligua said, "Stay away from me." Ning Shu changed the topic. "How long do you need to purify it?" Ligua was also afraid that Ning Shu would talk about borrowing seeds, so she answered Ning Shu's question, "It will take some time. It won't be short. I don't know how long it will take." "I see." Then she had to leave. She couldn't stay here and watch Ligua purify the Sea of Law. It was better to look for treasures, do missions, or deal with the star stones. She couldn't make the situation in the Sea of Law better even if she stayed here. Ning Shu said, "Then you can do it. I'm leaving." Ning Shu looked at the Granduncle with pity, as well as the superiority of an immortal to someone who was about to die. The veins on the Granduncle's forehead jumped. Fucking retard. Ning Shu left and returned to the system space. The little mouse lay on the sofa, feeling very uncomfortable. Ning Shu said, "Okay, let's go look for treasures." The little mouse looked at Ning Shu in horror. "Are you the devil?" It was already like this, but he still wanted it to go look for the void. The void was so dangerous, it had to go all out. How could it go to the void in its current state? Did he have to squeeze it like this? It was very uncomfortable now. The little mouse's mouth was bulging, and the whiskers on both sides of its cheeks were trembling. Its eyes were crystal clear, and tears were about to come out. It felt very wronged. Ning Shu said, "Why are you crying? Is it that smelly? You're crying?" Ning Shu was very surprised. He grabbed the little mouse's neck, lifted it in front of him, and wiped the little mouse's face with his hand. "Why are you so delicate? Delicate, your sister." After being coaxed, little mouse felt even more wronged. Previously, he couldn't hold back his tears, but now he was really crying drop by drop. Her tears dripped onto Ning Shu's hand. Ning Shu threw it onto the sofa in disgust. "All right, stop crying. Even girls don't cry as much as you do." "Hee, only girls can cry?" Ning Shu looked at the little mouse. "All right, I won't look for treasures. If you want to vomit, don't vomit on the ground. You're still the king of a tribe." It was a little embarrassing. "Little mouse, you don't allow people to be weak?" He couldn't afford to offend him. Since the little mouse's condition was not good, Ning Shu would not force it to go. Now that the little mouse was in such a bad mood and the void was so dangerous, it would be too easy for the little mouse to cause trouble. Since the little mouse was in such a state, Ning Shu felt that he was still a gentle person and should show some concern. Sigh, people with immortality were so gentle. Little mouse lay on the sofa, sprawled out on all fours. Seeing that Ning Shu was indifferent, it couldn't help but say, "I'm already in such a state. Why aren't you comforting me?" "Ning Shu, how do you want me to comfort you?" Little mouse felt that Ning Shu was really unreasonable. "Comfort me with some material things." Ning Shu made an oh sound and had a look of realization. Then he asked, "What material things?" Little mouse gave him a look of disdain. "Like the origin of the world." "Ning Shu, I can give you spiritual comfort. Using material things is too vulgar and insulting. I know you're not such a little mouse." "Little mouse, please insult me as much as you want." "No, I understand." Little mouse instantly rolled its eyes. Stingy, she didn't want to give him the origin of the world. Why was it so difficult to get something from her? Cindy. Ning Shu clicked on the system's exchange store, intending to exchange for fasting pills and go to do tasks. Doing tasks was the right path in the world. When she had more souls in the world of reincarnation, and Zhu Jun collected more soul fluid, she might not need to do tasks anymore. Her current soul wasn't very good at doing things. Ning Shu said to Dan Qing, "Go and do tasks." Dan Qing agreed, then hesitated to speak. Clearly, there was something that was hard for him to say. That, Ning Shu. "Just say it," Ning Shu said. "I can't say." Dan Qing sighed. "Ning Shu, then don't say it." Dan Qing, "I want to say it." Ning Shu, "Then say it." Dan Qing, "Then I'll say it." Ning Shu took a deep breath. "Say it." Couldn't she be more straightforward? Dan Qing said, "Don't you have a lot of titles and blessings given by the people who entrusted you?" Ning Shu nodded. "Well, yes." It seemed that there were a lot. She had never cared so much about these things, and they seemed to be useless. Dan Qing hesitated and said, "Can you give these titles to me?" Ning Shu asked calmly, "What's in it for you?" Dan Qing said, "These titles will bring a certain amount of luck and faith to the task taker, but it's not suitable for the task taker to enter the world with luck. But it's better for the system." Ning Shu raised his eyebrows. "Is that so?" Dan Qing said, "Yes, you can ask other task takers. Usually, these titles are given to the system by default, but you can also choose not to give them." There was such an unspoken rule? Why didn't the previous Jing Qing ask her for it? It was probably because he didn't care about such little things. He looked down on a little bit of luck given by an ant, even invisible luck. In the previous years, Ning Shu felt that his life and work were abnormal. It was mainly because he encountered an abnormal system. Dan Qing said, "The system has been deprived of its memory and can't remember the past. Compared to the task taker, the system sacrifices more and gains less. It will make up for the system in other aspects." "I can't say for sure before." Ning Shu said, "I see." Since these things weren't very helpful to him, Ning Shu wouldn't be stingy if they were helpful to the system. She opened the status panel. From doing missions until now, she had accumulated a lot of auras. Mother of the World, Queen's Blessing. Model Worker, Qinshi's Blessing. Leader Aura, Grass's Blessing. Best Friend for Life, Meow Meow Meow's Blessing. Life-Saving Hand, Zhu Su's Blessing. Founding Woman, Chen Ermiai's Blessing. Beauty-in-Law, Chen Ning's Blessing. Bane of the Blood Clan, Jasmine's Blessing. Cross-Race Communication, Bai Sanyang's Blessing. Brave Heart, Wang Ying's Blessing. Bloodthirsty Tyrant, Enai Bingyan's Blessing. Heart of Peace and Joy, Luck Aura, Faith Aura. Longevity. She had 15 auras. But after careful calculation, it wasn't that much. After all, she had done a lot of missions. Ning Shu suddenly felt that she wasn't a very qualified task taker. She thought too much. She thought she had a lot of auras. How embarrassing. Ning Shu asked Dan Qing, "What aura do you want?" For the immortal Ning Shu, these auras were of little help to her. It was useless to leave them here. She might as well give them to the system. /BK. Chapter 3604. Ning Shu wanted to ask the man in the Cheongsam if that was the case, but after some thought, it did not matter. On the phone, these things were nothing to her. If Dan Qing really played tricks and deceived her, she would not be able to do anything. He would be the one suffering, but it would not be him. Moreover, Dan Qing did not need to lie. This thing could help him, but it was probably not that much. Dan Qing was the one who lied against his heart for such a small thing and ended up being tortured. Ning Shu asked Dan Qing, "What halo do you want?" Dan Qing said, "Pardon me for asking, but can I only choose one?" Ning Shu, "How many do you want?" Dan Qing said, "Then give me the Mother of the World halo. After all, it's the Empress halo, so my luck is slightly better." Ning Shu said, "Actually, the founding female general halo is not bad. After all, it was sculpted into a statue. It would probably leave a few words in the history books. That would be quite good. And because of the statue, it would continue to be passed down. Among these halos, the founding female general's luck was probably the strongest. Although he did not know if that plane existed now, the luck contained in this halo was the strongest. Dan Qing said, "Okay then, I want the founding female general halo." Ning Shu said, "Take it yourself." Ning Shu asked, "What does your system need luck for?" "Oh, actually, the system needs to be strong too. When it reaches a certain level, it can break away from the system's identity." Ning Shu touched his chin and thought, "That's not right. It's a bit contradictory. Normal mission enforcers and the system are bound to their souls, so how can the system break away from the system's identity? They were bound together, so how could they be separated? The system said they can be partners, but it didn't say that they have to be bound together. If you want to break away, it's actually possible. Go through another soul cleansing." Dan Qing said. Ning Shu asked, "What soul cleansing? Cleansing the soul? That was so simple and violent." Dan Qing said, "It's to cleanse the soul again and wipe away the memories." Ning Shu was speechless. It was true. He felt that this organization was much stricter with the system than the mission enforcers. He did not know why. Ning Shu said, "Then do you want to leave? If you want to leave, I can help you." Ning Shu smiled. To be honest, she was still willing to use an AI system. If Dan Qing wanted to leave her, Ning Shu could help. Dan Qing refused and said, "There's no need. I'm not strong enough to break free. If I really break free, I won't be able to do anything. Escaping is a goal, but we have to take it one step at a time. If he really couldn't even make a system, then he would have no place to use his skills, and he might really have to go to the Law City to serve as a waiter. That way, he wouldn't even have the chance to become strong." Ning Shu didn't stand in front of him and let him take one of the halos. He didn't give him all the halos. Although these halos were useless to her, Ning Shu didn't want to give them all to Dan Qing. He didn't want Dan Qing to think that these things were easy to obtain. There were a lot of cases where one would be grateful for one's gain but hated for another's gain. It would be a terrible thing if one's appetite was not satisfied. Dan Qing took one of the halos and thanked Ning Shu. There was no resentment in his tone. In principle, These things should be given to the system, but it wasn't mandatory. Giving them was a favor, not giving them was a duty. Dan Qing was well aware of this point in his heart. Ning Shu was about to do the mission when the chat system rang. The person who sent the message was someone Ning Shu didn't know. Ning Shu didn't intend to pay attention. Seeing that Ning Shu didn't reply, the person immediately revealed his identity. He was from District D and said that there was no one there to deal with the Star Stone, so he asked Ning Shu to help deal with it. His tone was pitiful. Ning Shu, what was this? Could she pretend not to be here and pretend not to see it? Ning Shu thought about it and contacted Ah Wan, asking if she had time. Ning Shu felt that he should find a person to be in charge of District D. It would be best if this person had a good relationship with him, although his relationship with Ah Wan was as light as water. But in order to prevent the people in District D from relying on him, Ning Shu felt that it was necessary to let Ah Wan learn how to deal with the Star Stone. And as the person in charge, there would be a certain amount of resources. He just didn't know if Ah Wan wanted these resources. Ning Shu didn't want to be the person in charge, but he also needed to develop some connections. Ah Wan, I'm fine. I have time. Ning Shu told Ah Wan the ins and outs of the matter, including the situation in District D. Ah Wan was very surprised. Why me? Ning Shu, because your current conditions are suitable. The Cheongsam man didn't understand the rules. He had told him a few times, but it seemed that the Cheongsam boy was still entangled with the space law. Well, she wasn't entangled with the time law because she didn't understand it at all. Alright, thank you very much. Very good, Ah Wan agreed. Ning Shu met with Ah Wan first before heading to District D. Ning Shu saw that Ah Wan's soul was still very weak. Although it wasn't as strong as the transparent layer's ghost, it wasn't strong. When they arrived at District D, the group of people were really teary-eyed. They looked like they were waiting to be saved. Ning Shu was speechless. Ah Wan had always been active in District A. Those big shots were all cold. It was the first time he saw such enthusiastic people. Ning Shu started to deal with the Star Stone and said to Ah Wan, your soul isn't strong now. And dealing with the Star Stone is harmful to your soul, so I'll do it this time. You can watch from the side. Ning Shu dealt with it while telling Ah Wan the trick. Ning Shu felt that he was really a gentle teacher. When he was taught by Tai Shu back then, he was very rough. Ah Wan listened carefully and looked around. Why do I feel that District D is so poor, right? Ning Shu continued, this district lacks a person in charge. Without a person in charge, even the slightest bit of resources are divided by the other people in charge. As a result, this district is getting poorer and poorer. It's a vicious cycle. There's competition between the districts. In short, District D is miserable. I see. Ah Wan nodded. I'm from District A. Can I take over District D? Why not? They urgently need a person in charge now. If someone comes to take over, these people will definitely celebrate. Ah Wan let go of her worries. If this was the case, there wouldn't be any internal conflicts when she took over District D in the future. Less trouble was better. Ah Wan asked, has there been no one in District D who can deal with the Star Stone for such a long time? Probably, but it's always people sent by the organization. There's no one to teach, so there's always a shortage of young people. Ah Wan took the tools and slowly processed it. Just like how Ning Shu learned to deal with the Star Stone, the speed was very slow. She couldn't process one piece for a long time. It was very strenuous. /BK. Chapter 3605. Ning Shu didn't urge her. Processing star stones was a job that hurt the soul, and if she was anxious, the damage to the soul would be even greater. In the future, when you are free, let's go together when I process star stones, Ning Shu said to Ah Wan. When Ah Wan learned it, she would be completely free and could be a hands-off shopkeeper. Thinking about it, it was really beautiful. Ah Wan asked Ning Shu, they obviously want you to be in charge, why are you unwilling? Ning Shu, because of freedom. She had lived for too long, and carrying a responsibility forever was a very scary thing. For example, that bastard grand-uncle. Such a huge void was waiting for her to explore, The treasures of the void were waiting for her to obtain. Ah Wan. Very impressive, you won't be tempted by temporary benefits. Being in charge, whether it was benefits or status, was a temptation. Ning Shu, that's not it, it was that she could live for too long. So long that she didn't need to care about temporary benefits. Ning Shu was processing star stones while looking at Ah Wan. The other big shots were processing star stones, occasionally looking at Ning Shu and Ah Wan. Two beauties working together was really pleasing to the eye. Humans had to care and be more tolerant of beautiful things. Ning Shu finished processing all the star stones, but Ah Wan didn't process a single one. Instead, she was so tired that she was panting, and her soul had also dimmed. Ning Shu said, "Don't be anxious, take it slow." To be honest, Ning Shu didn't know how long the Sea of Law could last. Maybe not long after, these planes would no longer exist. But according to His Excellency and the others, a few million years was a simple matter. But Ning Shu really couldn't feel the vitality of the Sea of Law. Could it really last for a few million years? Ning Shu was suspicious of this time. But for the day that the planes existed, they had people who had to do the things at hand well. If the Sea of Law no longer existed, their group, even if they didn't die and didn't need to rely on the planes to live, they would become useless existences. They weren't strong, but compared to the living beings of the void, they were too weak. They felt a little homeless. Ah Wan looked at Ning Shu in a daze and asked, "What are you thinking about?" Ning Shu said, "The Sea of Stars." She was thinking that she had to go to the void lands to look for energy bodies that could allow her Sea of Laws to persevere for a period of time, at least until she became stronger. How annoying! The Sea of Law had now become her responsibility. Ning Shu had to admit that if he wanted to live freely, the Sea of Laws had to exist, at least it could not collapse so quickly. Ning Shu's expression became heavy all of a sudden, making Ah Wan somewhat speechless. After dealing with the star rocks in one place, they went to the next. Ning Shu then remembered and asked Ah Wan, "Do you know how to build a spatial passage?" Ah Wan nodded. "Sure. That's right, it seems like I can pick up the fragments after building a spatial tunnel." This was a necessary condition. She could pick up the fragments first before slowly comprehending the spatial laws. Alright then, don't teach Ah Wan about the laws of space, teach her how to construct a spatial tunnel. Ning Shu dealt with the star rocks and still had to teach Ah Wan. Ah Wan's soul was not strong and was easily tired, so she did not deal with it and kept taking notes. After dealing with all the broken planes, Ning Shu and Ah Wan were about to leave, but they were warmly urged to stay by the others. If not for the fact that they were girls, they would have shaken hands and hugged them. Ah Wan was speechless. Suddenly, she did not really want to be the person in charge of this group of people. Ning Shu walked away with Ah Wan very coldly and said to Ah Wan, "It's a bit difficult for your soul to deal with the star rocks." They were truly in the same boat. Ah Wan said, "I'm currently doing missions, I hope to quickly replenish my soul." Ah Wan felt that she was going to die from being busy. She had to do missions, pick up fragments, learn how to deal with the star rocks, and become the person in charge in the future. She felt that there was not enough time. Ning Shu returned to the system space, picked up the little mouse and said, "Let's go to the void lands for a stroll." Previously, he said that he wanted to go, but in the end, he was attracted by the Sea of Laws and came back, planning to do missions. After thinking about it, he still felt that he should go to the void lands to look for the energy body. Ning Shu thought about it carefully. It seemed that the energy body was useless to her, but because it was precious, she wanted to have it. Right? It seemed that peerless martial arts also needed energy bodies. Now that the Sea of Laws was in such a dead state, whether it was for public or private reasons, she had to go look for it. The little mouse could be considered a good thing, at least the probability of finding the energy body was higher. After all, it was looking for food, so it definitely had talent in this area. The little mouse tilted its head. "I'm not going." Ning Shu took out a world's origin and tempted it. "I'll give you a world's origin." This time, the mouse touched its stomach. "I don't want to eat right now, I don't want anything at all." "Yo, it's even twisted now." Ning Shu tossed the world's origin, and the little mouse's eyes moved along with the energy body. Its eyeballs were about to fall onto the world's origin, but it was still holding on. Ning Shu asked, "Are you going or not?" Every time she said she would go to the Voidlands, she actually didn't gain anything. The little mouse only brought her to finally when she waited for a piece of energy body, but this kind of energy body was very sharp. It wasn't an energy body full of vitality. Ning Shu looked at the deity beating whip and the energy body. The two were fighting a battle of wits and courage. The energy body bounced the deity beating whip away again and again, but the deity beating whip kept wrapping around it tirelessly. Not sure if it was Ning Shu's misconception, but she felt that the energy body was a little smaller. It was probably absorbed. Ning Shu felt that when the deity beating whip absorbed this energy body, there would definitely be a qualitative change. Maybe a little lowly would be born. Ning Shu said, "If you're not willing, then forget it, I'm going to do the mission." As she spoke, she put away the world's origin. The little mouse jumped up. "Since you're begging me, then I'll reluctantly agree to you. Look at your pitiful appearance. If I don't agree, I'll be heartless." "Ning Shu, as long as you're happy." The little mouse stretched out its hand. "Give me the world's origin." Ning Shu rolled her eyes and threw the world's origin to the little mouse. The little mouse immediately caught it and began to eat it. After eating it, it wiped its mouth and said, "I'm a little sleepy now, let's talk after I sleep." Ning Shu chuckled, revealing a sinister smile, and grabbed it by the neck. "After eating my food, you still want to go back on your words, you'll die a horrible death." The little mouse. A woman who haggles over every ounce. Ning Shu led the little mouse into the void and said, "Let's pass by the Sea of Law and take a look." The little mouse's fur all stood up. "Why are we going to such a disgusting place?" Ning Shu gently stroked the little mouse. "There's no other way. Seeing such a disgusting place will motivate me to look for the energy body. /BK. Chapter 3607. The little mouse adjusted the collar on its neck. "Damn, this is so annoying." At first, the man and mouse held their heads high, but after walking for a short distance, they hunched their backs and carefully lowered their presence like thieves. The void was too dangerous. There were black holes in the void. If they were not careful and got sucked into a black hole, they would be crushed and never be able to get out. Furthermore, they might be sucked into an unknown space crack. There were all kinds of dangers that were unimaginable. Ning Shu felt that it was understandable for him to be scared, but why was the little mouse so scared? Ning Shu asked softly, "Hey, don't you often wander around the void? Why you like this?" The little mouse said, "I'm alone now. No one is leading the way for me. If there's any danger, it's always my subordinates." "All right." Ning Shu sensed the sensors that he had released earlier and frowned. In just a short while, 3 of them had been damaged and could not be sensed anymore. All right, these man-made things were a little fragile in the void. At this moment, Ning Shu did not have much hope for these sensors. It was normal that they did not find anything, but it would be a pleasant surprise if they did. It seemed that fate was really following the little mouse. Ning Shu asked, "You've been drifting in the void for so long. Where do you think is the most likely place to have energy bodies?" The little mouse said without thinking, "I don't know. These things were discovered completely by luck. Can you people find gold mines buried deep underground without any tools? If I knew where energy bodies were born, I wouldn't be hungry." The little mouse moved its nose as it walked. It would avoid dangerous places. Ning Shu asked the little mouse, "You've been drifting in the void for so many years. Do you know any races or places that can produce energy bodies easily?" Places like gold and diamond mines required geographical conditions. The little mouse straightened its body, touched its chin, and said, "I quite like looking for Phoenix Spirit. Phoenix Spirit's place can produce energy bodies easily. To be honest, your place is really poor." "Phoenix Spirit? Person's name? Place name?" Ning Shu said, "Then let's go find Feng Xian." Little mouse looked at Ning Shu bitterly. "I can't go to that place. It's all a trap for me." Ning Shu was speechless. He had forgotten that the little mouse was a locust-like existence. When faced with locusts, of course, he had to destroy them. Ning Shu took a deep breath and smiled at the little mouse. "What about other places? Little Mouse blinked and looked at Ning Shu. Ning Shu punched Little Mouse's head. Get out of here, the little mouse. Ning Shu asked. Why are you looking for energy bodies? I'd rather starve than look for them. This kind of thing is very hard to come by. Once it is discovered, there will definitely be a lot of people fighting over it. I don't have any subordinates right now, so I don't want to make a big fuss over a piece of energy. Ning Shu was speechless. Hearing his tone, she really wanted to hammer him to death. I don't want it because I'm too lazy to move. Little Mouse said, I'll take you to find some delicious food. Forget about energy bodies. Ning Shu said, I'm not a glutton. Of course, I'll accept good food, but I still want energy bodies. Little Mouse said, with our bodies, it's a little too easy to find energy bodies. So you know where energy bodies are? Ning Shu looked at Little Mouse. Little Mouse quickly shook its head. I didn't say that. I don't even know where they are. Ning Shu said, You did. Little Mouse said, I didn't. You did. I didn't. Ning Shu said, I didn't. Little Mouse said, You did. Ning Shu asked, Where? Little Mouse was speechless. Fuck your mother. Little Mouse rolled its eyes. But I know a place that has them, but it's very dangerous. Even if I have subordinates, I won't go. Also, let me tell you. Little Mouse shook its leg proudly. I'm the only one who knows about this place. Ning Shu was speechless. What was it so proud of? Take me there. I need this thing. Little Mouse was a little hesitant. No, that place is really too dangerous. If you get swept up by the wind, you'll be turned into ashes. I accidentally went to that place before and lost half of my troops. You fought with my subordinates before. You should know how hard their bodies are. Even with such a strong body, they'll be turned into ashes in an instant. Ning Shu was speechless. It did sound a little scary. Ning Shu said, Then I'll go take a look. I won't let myself die. Little Mouse rolled its eyes at Ning Shu. You're saying the same thing as a man saying, If I don't go in, I'll just take advantage of you. Ning Shu looked disgusted. When did you become so vulgar? Little Mouse said, Your words are vulgar, but you're right. Ning Shu said, I won't let myself take the risk. Little Mouse smiled maliciously. Okay, you can't blame me if you insist on looking for death. It's very far away. You have to be prepared. Ning Shu nodded. She had plenty of time anyway. Little Mouse walked in front and Ning Shu followed behind. They marked the location of the space node. After marking it, Little Mouse didn't need to lead the way next time. It was very convenient to perform space jumps. As they walked, Ning Shu felt that something was wrong. It was getting colder and colder. It was a coldness that penetrated deep into her soul. She was in soul form now, so normal coldness didn't affect her at all. However, this coldness made Ning Shu shiver. Little Mouse didn't seem to feel anything. It walked in front with its head held high. Ning Shu stopped in her tracks. Her lips were already turning black. I'm very cold. Little Mouse turned around. That's right. This energy body is in an extremely cold place. Normal people wouldn't be able to withstand it, especially with your weak soul. Ning Shu frowned. She couldn't help but rub her hands together to warm them up. If you continue walking, your soul will be completely frozen. Then, with a bang, it will explode into powder and be annihilated. This coldness is no joke. Even the creatures in the void won't be able to withstand this coldness. Do you still want to go? Little Mouse asked. Ning Shu took out the fire pearl and held it in her hand. Of course I want to go. Since I'm already here, I won't be satisfied if I don't experience it. The fire pearl was so hot. Holding it in her hand was like holding a heating pad. It dispelled the coldness on her body. She just didn't know how long she could last. Little Rat shrugged his shoulders. Okay, you can follow me. Little Mouse looked at the thin layer of fur on the surface of her body. She was actually able to withstand the cold. It really made people jealous. Fortunately, her brain wasn't good enough. If her brain was any smarter, she would really be in heaven. If she had a body, Ning Shu would probably be so cold that her snot would have flowed out. Her snot would have frozen into hard lumps. How much longer? Ning Shu asked. It was really too cold. Her soul couldn't take it anymore. Little Mouse didn't seem to care. It's still early. I already said it's very far. Chapter 3608. Ning Shu held the fire pearl and relied on it for warmth, but she still felt colder and colder. She didn't have a body, but she felt as if her body was frozen, and her movements were especially slow. There was a layer of frost on her soul. It was really cold. Ning Shu didn't know if she could make it to the destination. The little mouse walked in front, and Ning Shu quickly caught up with it. He picked up the little mouse and held it in his arms. Give me some warmth. His soul was covered in frost, but the little mouse wasn't. He held the little mouse in his arms, and he suddenly felt warmth from his hands. Yes, the little mouse was warmer than the fire pearl. The fire pearl was now dim, and the heat on it was almost exhausted. Usually, the little mouse wouldn't burn his hands, but now it was exceptionally warm. It was probably at a constant temperature. The little mouse said, "Damn, you're really cold. Let go." It struggled with all four limbs, but Ning Shu held it tightly. The more they walked, the colder Ning Shu felt. She couldn't help but hug the little mouse tighter. If she had known, she would have worn more clothes, or at least brought something to keep her warm. The little mouse didn't say anything in advance, so it probably didn't want to go to this place. Ning Shu's body stiffened, and she shivered as she asked, "How much longer?" "It's still early," the little mouse said nonchalantly. "This is just the beginning." Ning Shu was speechless. It was too cold. It was so cold that her brain was starting to become muddled. The little mouse looked at Ning Shu shivering and asked, "Do you want to go back? Is there really an energy body in that place?" Ning Shu asked with a lisp. The little mouse nodded. "There is, but there's no way to get it. When I get there, I'm freezing. It's basically a land of death. Even the creatures in the void can't withstand it." Ning Shu wiped her nose, and she felt snot flowing out. "I want to take a look." Ning Shu said she wanted to confirm if there was really an energy body in that place. Little Rat turned around and looked at Ning Shu, who was hunched over. All right. Ning Shu felt cold, but at least he wouldn't die. With the will of death, he could hold on for a while. He took out another fire pearl and held it in his hand. With the addition of the little mouse, he didn't feel so cold anymore, and his footsteps became much faster. As they walked, a blizzard appeared in front of them. Ning Shu looked at the snowstorm and was speechless. He had never seen such a big snowstorm. The snowflakes were the size of a palm, and they were dense and white. The wind was howling. Looking from afar, it was truly shocking. Ning Shu didn't want to go anymore. He asked the little mouse, "How far is it?" Little Mouse was annoyed by the questions. "It's very far. We were at the edge just now. We still have to pass through the snowstorm to reach the glacier. It's an unimaginably vast glacier." Ning Shu hammered his trembling legs and looked at the howling cold wind. He took a deep breath. They had walked for so long, and they were still at the edge of the glacier. Ning Shu asked the little mouse, "How did you get in before?" Little Mouse said, "Of course we relied on our race. We relied on a large amount of energy bodies to warm ourselves up. I was just curious about what was inside, so I went in for fun." Ning Shu was speechless. Some people could be willful when they were rich. Ning Shu took a deep breath and took out the fire pearl again. He said to the little mouse, "Let's go in." Little Mouse shook its head. "Let's not. You'll die." "No, we'll just teleport back." Little Rat sneered and looked at Ning Shu. "Do you think the wind is howling and the blizzard is so fierce that even the space nodes are disordered?" Ning Shu was already hesitant. Hearing the little mouse's words, he hesitated even more. "Let's go." Ning Shu stretched out his leg and tested it at the edge of the snowstorm. He immediately felt his leg go numb and quickly retracted it. "It's really cold," Ning Shu said. Little Mouse's eyes lit up. "Then shall we go back?" Ning Shu said, "Let's go. I can still bear it." Ning Shu held the little mouse and leaned forward into the snowstorm. The howling snowstorm penetrated his soul. Ning Shu shivered. It was so cold. Stepping on the thick snow, he left a trail of footprints that disappeared in an instant. Ning Shu hugged the little mouse tightly and absorbed the heat from little mouse's body. The little mouse's eyes rolled back. Oh my God! Ning Shu was swept away by the snowstorm and left a trail of Ning Shu's cries in the air. In order to avoid being separated from the little mouse, Ning Shu hugged the little mouse tightly. This was her source of heat. Little Housie turned into a pool of water and wrapped Ning Shu up to escape from the hurricane. Ning Shu fell down and felt that his body was covered in a sticky liquid. This should be the little mouse's main body. After wrapping him up, he felt much warmer. It was airtight and he felt like the cold outside couldn't blow in. Well done. Ning Shu praised. Little mouse, go away. If you really want to thank me, give me 10 world sources. Who doesn't know how to say nice things? Ning Shu, okay, if you don't like nice things, I won't say them. Little mouse. With the protection of the little mouse's membrane, Ning Shu didn't feel so cold anymore. He also felt much faster. Whenever they encountered a hurricane, they would avoid it. However, they would often be swept away by the hurricane. The more he walked, the colder it got. Even with the protection of the little mouse, the coldness still seeped in. Once again, he was swept away by the hurricane. After getting rid of the hurricane, little mouse turned back into a mouse. He lay in Ning Shu's arms and sniffled. So cold. Ning Shu didn't have time to react and was instantly frozen. Ning Shu instantly turned into an ice sculpture. He was so lifelike that even his expression froze. Ning Shu, damn, you should have told me before you transformed. He was now an ice sculpture. He couldn't imagine how ugly his expression was now. Little Mouse had no choice but to put his hand on Ning Shu. The endless heat gradually melted Ning Shu's ice sculpture. The contact between the cold and the heat formed a majestic white smoke. Little Mouse was indeed a creature from the void. She had always said that he was useless, but in the environment of the void, he had a natural advantage. She became an existence that was dragging him down. She only had the will of death to support her. She didn't die even after being frozen into an ice sculpture. Little Mouse's body had 1 less HP than before. Damn, the energy I stored in my body is gone. It's gone. It's gone. Ning Shu stroked Little Mouse. It's okay, I'll give you a world source later. 100 world sources can't make up for the energy I lost. Do you know how long I've stored this heat? No, you don't know at all. Little Mouse was very sad. He hated himself for bringing her to this place. For a little bit of food, he lost more. The more he thought about it, the more unwilling he was. He wanted to eat it back. Chapter 3609. Ning Shu said, okay, I'll give you another one when we get back. You have no idea how much energy I've lost. Ning Shu said, don't worry, don't worry. Are we in a glacier? Ning Shu finally noticed his surroundings. It was an endless stretch of icebergs. The icebergs were so tall that he didn't know where they went. There was no end to it. Tall and numerous glaciers, it was like a god with uncanny workmanship. Fortunately, they were swept away by the hurricane for quite a bit of distance, so they arrived earlier than expected. Ning Shu raised his hand and looked around. Where are the energy bodies? Do you see the green dots embedded in the icebergs? Little Mouse said dispiritedly. Ning Shu looked carefully. Green dots, not just that. There are even rainbow-colored ones. Ning Shu discovered that there were faint starry things in the glacier. Compared to the dry glacier, these things looked only the size of mung beans and were not eye-catching at all. I only care about what I can eat. Little Mouse didn't care about other energy bodies at all. He only cared about the gentle energy bodies that contained life energy. Little Mouse couldn't help but drool. When he saw the energy bodies, he was very hungry. Especially after consuming so much energy, it was like consuming a lot of fat. If he continued to consume energy, Little Mouse would probably freeze to death. Ning Shu threw the fire bead that didn't have much heat toward the glacier. Before it even touched the glacier, the fire bead instantly turned into a lump of ice. Then, the lump of ice was quickly covered with cracks. Then, with a bang, it directly exploded. The broken ice shards reflected bits of starry light. It was quite beautiful. Ning Shu took a step back. Damn, this was probably the coldest energy in the legends. It was extremely cold. Ning Shu glanced at the energy bodies in the glacier and said to Little Mouse, "Let's go back." They were going back so quickly. Little Mouse was still a little unused to it. Ning Shu, didn't I say before that I'm just going to take a look? With her current strength, there was no way she could extract these energy bodies. Before she could even get close, she would be annihilated, just like the fire pearl. Heat was energy and so was cold. She couldn't bear this kind of energy. "All right, let's go back," the little mouse said listlessly. Ning Shu carried the little mouse and jumped through space. Because of the previous mark, the way back was much smoother. However, it was also destroyed by the power of the hurricane, so it would take a lot of time. The little mouse was also freezing. It kept sneezing and had a runny nose. When it returned to the system space, it stuck out its butt and lay on the sofa crying, mourning its loss of energy. Ning Shu touched its butt and comforted it. "If you can open this, I'll give you an energy body." Little Mouse looked at Ning Shu suspiciously. "You're so generous. Next time, I'll have to rely on you." Little Mouse. Fuck you. Ning Shu glanced at his soul. It had dimmed a lot, destroyed by the power of ice and snow. Opening the chat system, Ning Shu contacted Senior Uncle and went straight to the point about the energy bodies. Then they met to talk. Senior Uncle said to talk in the interrogation room. Ning Shu said, "No, we'll talk in my restaurant." He could still get a meal in the restaurant. Ning Shu picked up the little mouse and said, "Let's find someone who can mine." With so many colored energy bodies, Ning Shu felt that the god-beating whip could eat its fill. Little Mouse said weakly, "Whatever, I just want to sleep. I want to hibernate now. I've lost too much energy. Activities will cause more energy loss." Ning Shu gave it a world's origin. I'm very generous." Little Mouse sneered in disdain. It had never seen such a shameless thing. Little Mouse gnawed on the world's origin. When Ning Shu arrived at the restaurant, Senior Uncle was already waiting for her. He was drinking tea casually. Sure enough, he cared a lot and came earlier than her. "Why did you come to see him?" "Fuck, I can't eat anymore." Little Mouse smelled the smell on Senior Uncle and suddenly withered a lot. It jumped off Ning Shu's shoulder and disappeared. Ning Shu's nose twitched. It was really smelly. Why didn't she smell it? Ning Shu sat down, called the waiter, and ordered a table of expensive dishes. He said to Senior Uncle, "Talk while eating. It's a long story." "Then make it short." Senior Uncle put down the teacup. Ning Shu said, "I can't make it short. At least the time of a meal. Oh, by the way, you can pay the bill." Senior Uncle said, "I'll pay the bill?" Ning Shu said, "Can I pay the bill? I risked my life to get the information. Can't I eat a meal?" Senior Uncle narrowed his eyes. "A meal is enough." Ning Shu said, "Of course not. You wish. Call me Dad and I'll tell you." Senior Uncle looked at Ning Shu expressionlessly. "Are you itching for a beating?" The dishes came one after another. Senior Uncle gave his identity card to the waiter. After a while, the waiter took the card and returned it to Senior Uncle. Senior Uncle put away the identity card and didn't eat. Ning Shu said, "You're not eating?" Senior Uncle said, "Not interested." Ning Shu raised his eyebrows. According to this guy's stingy character, how could he not eat? Ning Shu's nose twitched. She didn't know if it was an illusion or if she had heard too much from the little mouse, but she also faintly smelled a rotten smell from Senior Uncle. Ning Shu stood up and walked around Senior Uncle. She sniffed from his back, neck, armpits, and neck. She could directly smell the smell of people. As she approached, she seemed to smell a faint smell. Ning Shu wanted to get closer, but a cold finger pressed her forehead. "Go away." Ning Shu sighed and returned to her seat. She continued eating. "Your body probably can't handle it anymore. You won't be able to digest it." Ning Shu looked at Senior Uncle. "You're not a walking corpse now, are you?" The Grand Elder smirked. If I were a walking corpse, I would tear you apart immediately. Where's the specific location of the energy body? Senior uncle was too lazy to talk nonsense with her. Ning Shu said, I can't even take a bite of my food. Let me eat something first. You should eat too. I don't eat from the same plate as others. Ning Shu thought, damn, you're so particular. There are shared chopsticks, okay? Ning Shu told senior uncle about the glacier while eating. Senior uncle was expressionless, but he asked, why did you go there? Ning Shu said, to play. Senior uncle pondered and didn't speak. His eyes were a little unfocused, and no one knew what he was thinking. Ning Shu ate and said to senior uncle, I brought such a big piece of information. You have to give me soul fluid. My soul is weak now, so I can't take you to the glacier. And I want some of the extracted energy bodies. Her original intention was to find energy bodies for the Sea of Law. Even if they were scraps, she still wanted to get some energy bodies. Chapter 3610. Ning Shu observed him while eating. She took a sip of tea to clear the taste in her mouth and said, looking closely, your skin is gray. You're actually dead. The grand uncle glanced at Ning Shu. You don't look at the skin to see if someone is dead or not. You look at the eyes. Ning Shu shook her head. No, you look at the skin. When the blood stops flowing, the skin immediately reacts. The grand uncle sneered. My cells are worlds. There's no such thing as blood. Ning Shu was speechless. Well, she really couldn't use an ordinary human body to identify the granduncle. She really wanted to stab the granduncle with a knife to see if there was no blood. But if she pierced his skin, how many worlds would collapse? There were about 37,200,000,000,000 cells in a person's body. Oh my, was there really so many worlds in the granduncle's body? She didn't quite believe it. But what made Ning Shu unhappy was that the granduncle was too calm when she told him the location of the energy body. He wasn't happy or disappointed. He felt that the information she got was worthless. Ning Shu asked, do you know this place? The granduncle said casually, even you can find it. Do you think the other races in the void can't find it? Ning Shu asked, then why hasn't the glacier been developed yet? Since they knew there were energy bodies inside, why didn't they develop it? The granduncle said, everyone tacitly agreed not to develop it. It's considered a sustainable development route. Ning Shu said, Tisk, isn't it because it's too cold and can't be developed? To be frozen into dregs by something thrown at him, even a void spirit would find it difficult to withstand such energy. And looking at the iceberg, who knew how long it had been there and how to dig it out? She felt that the void creatures were too lazy to care about things that took time. The granduncle nodded. That's one thing. Ning Shu asked, then can you dig it out? Probably not. If he could, why didn't he dig it out? Why did he look for energy bodies everywhere? The Grand Elder didn't deny it. Firstly, mining is indeed difficult. Secondly, once someone does, those guys who are too lazy to count will swarm in. Ning Shu. What fur? Grand uncle. Any fur is fine. Ning Shu exclaimed. How dirty. Ning Shu poured a cup of tea for the granduncle and said, mining is difficult, but it can still be done. Look at you, you are now a walking corpse. You need energy. Like the Sea of Law, it also needs energy. Actually, no matter how much energy there was in the Sea of Law, it was probably just like that. However, it could be delayed for a while. The granduncle glanced at Ning Shu, picked up the teacup with his slender fingers, and took a sip. You've always been lazy, but now you're worried about these things? Ning Shu was speechless. When had she ever been lazy? She had really risked her life for the sake of living, yet she was still being called lazy. What a great injustice. She was a very serious person. Ning Shu said, where there is an organization, there is home. I sincerely hope that the organization will last for thousands of years and last forever. Sect Master, your divine power is unparalleled. Sect Master Dongfang's divine power is unparalleled. The Grand Uncle said indifferently, you want energy bodies and use the organization as a raft. Are you planning to take a part of it? Ning Shu was really wronged. Her original intention was really pure. Even if she wanted to, she would give some scraps to the god-striking whip to let it evolve. However, Ning Shu quickly reacted and asked the Grand Uncle, "Have you entered the center? Have you seen the glacier?" The Grand Uncle, "Of course." Ning Shu, "Nonsense, you definitely haven't entered. You don't know that there are many energy bodies embedded in the glacier. There are energy bodies of all colors." The Grand Uncle's hand that was shaking the teacup slightly paused, but he was still expressionless. "It's difficult to excavate the glacier. I don't want to spend a lot of manpower and material resources to do such a thing." Ning Shu rolled his eyes. It was obviously difficult to mine, and ordinary souls would be frozen and annihilated after entering. Therefore, ordinary mission enforcers couldn't go in and mine. Ning Shu felt that even ordinary big shots wouldn't be able to resist this kind of cold energy. Could it be that the organization relied on non-humans to mine? However, even the creatures in the void might not be able to withstand this kind of temperature. They might freeze to death like ordinary humans. In the end, it was just that the price-performance ratio of mining wasn't good. Ning Shu, if we don't mine, do we have to rely on cheating to get energy bodies? The Grand Uncle, "Cheating?" Ning Shu nodded. "Cheating." The Grand Uncle was a godlike person. The Grand Uncle put down the teacup. "Okay, you don't have to worry about these things. It's useless for you to worry." The Grand Uncle stood up and was about to leave. Ning Shu stood in front of the Grand Uncle like the wind. "Don't tell me you want to secretly mine behind my back?" The Grand Uncle, "I'm not as wretched as you." "Fuck, how was she wretched? How was she lazy?" Ning Shu asked. "Then where are you going next?" "I'll follow you. You'll definitely go to the glacier." "You're crazy. If I knew there was such a place, I would have done it long ago." Ning Shu shook his head. "No, you'll definitely go to the glacier deep in the snow to confirm if what I said is true." "Are there energy bodies mixed in the glacier?" The Grand Uncle, "I don't know how long I've lived. When I'm bored, I wander around. I've been to all the places you've been to, and I've also been to places you haven't been to." Ning Shu frowned. "Are you showing off that you're very old? Was this something to be proud of? Old fart." Ning Shu laughed. Explaining is covering up, and covering up is telling a story. Look at you talking so much. You're obviously guilty. Ning Shu wanted to pat the Grand Uncle's shoulder. "Anla, it's okay if you want to see it. I'll take you. I'll mark the space." The Grand Uncle's shoulder tilted, avoiding Ning Shu's hand. Ning Shu didn't care at all. "But it's really cold. I'm frozen stiff. If you want to go, you should ask Uncle Chong for some warm tools." Ning Shu shuddered as she spoke. "By the way, my soul isn't good now. Give me some soul fluid to replenish it." The Grand Uncle looked at Ning Shu with a sneer. "You really dare to ask? Do you think you've made a great contribution? Do you want to do this or that?" Ning Shu flipped his hair. "Of course. Otherwise, the information I brought while risking being frozen a few times wouldn't be worth anything. Don't bring ordinary mission enforcers in. They'll be frozen directly. Take them away quickly." The veins on the Grand Uncle's forehead jumped. "When did I say I wanted to mine the glacier?" Ning Shu sighed and felt it was a pity. "I'm not going to mine it. There are so many energy bodies." He couldn't rely on his own strength. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.